delayed broadcast shall also be live streamed on our Facebook page. And although a delayed broadcast does not entitle our Facebook viewers to a certificate, people joined here on our Zoom meeting will be given an attendance certificate. Now, given that the record function is now beginning, we would like to invite you to please share our webinar on your Facebook pages, share it to your friends and your family and your schoolmates, and let's get this going. So to our conference participants, we extend our warmest greetings. Welcome to a very special occasion, the first National Conference on the Promotion of Philippine History in the Classroom and Cyberspace. And we are very grateful that you can be with us here this afternoon. And this conference is a gathering of Philippine history advocates and supporters all throughout the country. This event is organized by none other than the High School Philippine History Movement. As a brief starter, we shall give the following general instructions for our conference outline, which will be read by my co-host.
I'm having technical issues lang po.
All right. So if you have any questions, please input it on our Q&A chat box. We will try to attend to all questions addressed to all speakers. But for the sake of brevity, we might only be able to collate some questions. Alam nyo naman, pag may event talaga, please avoid putting unnecessary comments or personal questions in the Q&A chat box. And please participate in our opening ceremonies, and let us solemnly respect the national anthem and prayer. The movement reserves the right to delete comments and block users from this webinar. And we will be distributing evaluation forms later before the conference ends. It will be a prerequisite before getting a certificate. No evaluation form, no certificate. The views and opinions expressed by the speakers at this online conference may not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of the movement. And if you have other concerns or inquiries, you may send it to our official email via ibalik.his.sa.shs@gmail.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, let us first pay tribute to our national flag through the singing of the Philippine national anthem. This shall be followed by a solemn ecumenical prayer to the Almighty.
naman kamoitan ito inoy takay na naman naman kamoitan
Biyaya mo na karunungan sa pamamagitan ng agham. Gamitin mo kaming kasangkapan para sa pag-unlad ng buong bayan. Hiling namin ang grasya mo upang kami mapagmahal. Dapat na tagapagpangalaga ng kalikasan. Maluwalhati ka, Panginoon. Dakila sa lahat, O Panginoon. Napakabuti mo, kailan may hindi ka nagbabago, Panginoon.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin. Ar-Rahmanir-Rahim. Malik Yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Ihdinas siratal mustaqim. Siratal ladzina an'amta 'alaihim ghairil maghdubi 'alaihim waladdallin. Amin. Ya Allah, kati ya Allah, papalad na miska ya Allah ya Rahman ya Rahim. Sa mga tawag ya wa ya Allah sikwagman ka ya Allah ya Rahman ya Rahim. Ya Allah bungi ngabi ya Allah sama pia pamikiran ya Allah. Amo sarami ya Allah siku o kawapi asiko kapuging ya Allah pakangiginawa ya kami kay ya Allah papamagugupa kami kay ya Allah. So kalangulawan o Pilipino ya Allah sisagi nga Pilipinas ya Allah. Napakanudurugungan kaya sa mga mapya pamikiran ya Allah si kapugingid ya Allah ya Allah na argang kar kami ya Allah Rahman ya Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin.
Maluwalhati ka, Panginoon. Dakila sa lahat, O Panginoon. Napakabuti mo, kailan may hindi ka nagbabago, Panginoon. Panginoon.
Thank you for your solemn participation. We shall now be introducing Mr. Andrew Eaton, who will be giving the opening remarks. Mr. Andrew Eaton, a former public school teacher at Victorino Mapa High School Division of City Schools, Department of Education, Manila, he specializes in the areas of social sciences like history, humanities, politics, governance, economics, and education subjects. He obtained his Bachelor of Arts in Political Science in 2002 at Adamson University and a certificate program in teacher education at Pamantasan ng Lungsod ng Maynila during 2000 in the year 2005, Master of Arts in Education, major in Educational Administration at Pamantasan ng Lungsod ng Maynila, PLM2 in 2012, and continues his graduate studies to pursue his doctorate degree. Presently, as Education Program Supervisor at the Curriculum and Learning Management Division Department of Education, National Capital Region, and a former school principal at Tabernacle of Faith Christian Academy. He is also a division demonstration teacher at the Division of City Schools, DepEd Manila. He was also a coach for the Teenpreneur Challenge by the Entrepreneur School of Asia, where the school won various awards. He is also a mentor, trainer, speaker, and facilitator in various educational innovation and teaching methodologies in the K-12 educational curriculum. Ladies and gentlemen, please let us welcome Mr. Andrew E. Tan.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Hello.
Good afternoon po.
Yes. Can I share my screen?
Well, we can share your screen.
Thank you. Disabled at the moment.
Ayan. I think we're just having a couple of technical difficulties. We'll get our tech director to handle that. In the meantime, Mr. Andrew Tan, how are you doing po?
We just recently conducted our regional learning assessment and measurement year 3 using the solo framework in the regional level, involving subjects like science, English, math, ESP, and Philippine. Due to the gaps and losses that we had during the pandemic, so we are really pushing towards inclusivity, numeracy, and literacy in the regional level. So even though I think I'm now about to share, sir. Am I sharing?
Yes, we can see your screen now po.
Yeah, okay. So let me share it briefly, no, kasi with the limited time. Ayan. Am I coming clear in my presentation? Thank you for that. So it is a blessing and an opportunity to be part of the first national conference for integrating or being part again of the Philippine history, where to
Sir, are you still there? Sir?
Yes, sir. I just
Ayun.
transferred because of the venue that we have. So pardon me for that. So am I presenting now?
Yes, go
Okay.
ahead, sir.
So again, thank you and good afternoon to each and everyone. So where do the Philippines go right now? The Philippine history. So to share it with you, the critical contents, the competencies, and the cyberspace community. So again, Bagani and being heroes of Philippine history. So let me share that throughout our history, our country has been a subject for foreign invasions. Even up until now, even cyber attacks are happening. So invasions may come in the form of various ways. It could be in a form of non-violence, but rather more on the digital transformation attacks. At any rate, this could be our, I would like to share these messages to each and everyone. The upcoming changes in competencies for milks, including some of which would be the challenges that we are confronted with: geography, geopolitics, and geoeconomics. Thirdly would be the contextualization, as I said, I would like to share. Likewise, the critical thinking and the critiquing. And at the end, hopefully, we could be the carriers of this past to the present happening. So this is the framework currently used by the Department of Education that we could reflect on as our framework for this concept of Araling Panlipunan in the subject. So this could be utilized, or you can use this for your references, that these are the main points. Even though it's that blurry on your end, it is encircled by the core values of our makatao, makajos, makabayan, and makabansa that surrounds these concepts involving this in a spiraling approach. And the standards here are included based from the Edukasyon para sa Lahat 2015 and the Basic Education Curriculum Republic Act 10533. And here are some of the objectives likewise stated in Philippine. Na pagsisiyasat, na pagsusuri, na pananaliksik, komunikasyon at pagpapatupad ng mga tinatawag nating pamantayan. Now, this one, naging batayan ng ating curriculum ng edukasyon sa 2015 para sa lahat, ay nagsilbing mahalagang salig, no? Mahalagang libro na mahalagang batayan ng ating curriculum. Now, ang layunin nito ay pagbubuo ng ating mamamayan, upang sabi ko nga kanina, isang mapanuri, mapagmuni, responsable, produktibo, makalikasan, kabansamang tao na may pambansa at pandaigdigang pananaw at pagpapalaki. So ito rin yung mga pamantayan na ginagamit sa kasalukuyan, hindi pa naman po ito nababago, unless magkaroon po ng bagong ilalabas na curriculum guide na magkakaroon ng changes, lalo na sa ating isinusulong na ibalik ang ating Philippine history sa junior high school. So sa ngayon, ito pa yung ginagamit na pamantayan sa Key to 3, sa Key Stage 1, Key Stage 2, at Key Stage 3. So nakikita niyo po sa inyong screen yung naipamalas sa Key Stage 1, ang pag-unawa, pagpapahalaga ng mga sumusunod. Sa susunod na Key Stage ay naipamalas din ang kakayahan bilang isang batang produktibo, panagutan at makabansang mamamayan gamit ang mga sumusunod na tinatawag nating social skills. And likewise, mas malalim na panunuri at pamamaraan na ipapamala sa baitang na ito ng usap. Now, makikita natin sa pangalawang gusto ko ibahagi yung sa geographical, sa geopolitics at geoeconomics na malaki ngayon ang tinutulog ng mga ganap na nangyayari sa ating bayan, sa karating bayan at sa ating region. Makikita nga sa panahon na sinusunod ni Arturo Tolentino, yung ating tinatawag ng archaeologic doctrine, nagkaroon ng 9-9 at maraming mga pangyayari na nagkaroon pa ng pagbabago ng mga pangyayari na dulot ng kalakasan ng mga ibang bansa na magtayo, manatili, mangaras at magkaroon ng mga pagbabago sa ating geografiya. So makikita rin sa larangan ng ekonomiya, kanina ay sa geografiya, ngayon naman sa ekonomiya, ang mga pagbabago, ang datos na batay sa PSA, kung ito ay bumababa at tumataas, anong mga naging indicator nito, titignan natin ang mga antas na ito sa larangan at magandang pag-usapan, pagmuni-munihin na magandang ibalik na itong mga pag-aaral na ito. So another, yung third part, yung tinatawag nating critiquing and critical thinking na meron dapat mastery tayong ginagamit, no? Mas magandang palakasin natin yung lower order hanggang higher order. So si lower order would be about routine application, listing, following, recalling, and answering. These are the things that we learned recently, so would like to share with you. So in a higher order thinking phase naman, so the relational aspect, the multicultural, the unisexual, so that yung ating mga learners are more critical, comparative, able to contrast, differentiate, organize, and generalize. So if there are higher order thinking skills, there are what we call social study skills that we can utilize in the subject. So likewise, these two are prerequisites, lower is prerequisite for higher order, and this could be part, no, to enhance, to increase, to enable our learners in the subject. And the revised one, no, like pagbabago nito sa assessment, in terms of Bloom's taxonomy na nagbago na siya. Ang napalitan dito yung evaluate and create, and the synthesis part became create and evaluate below the create part in 2000. So according to Sophia Pichoska, higher order thinking skills such as innovating, critical thinking is really now in demand. So, alam ko nakikita niyo ito ngayon sa social media, sa Facebook, sa industry, na ang pagbabago ng ating nakikita sa lansangan ay nagiging ano na siya, transformative, digitized, na nagkakaroon ng itinuturong kultura, itinuturong kasaysayan na meron. Ano bang mapupulot natin sa mga ganitong pagbabago? Yung tinatawag natin cyberspace, digital world. No? Meron ba tayong mga heroes na ganito? Yung pagpasok ng mga P-pop, no, sa mainstream ng musika, kultura at sining. Now, nasaan papasok yung ating kasaysayan? Saan natin dapat natin siyang i-use? So meron tayong mga ganitong nakikita like yung sa Sapi, naging hero, yung Mokojos Mentor, naging parang naging ano na sila, cinematic, naging multiverse na sila. So, would like to share another part sa Laysay sa kasalukuyan at sa kamalayan, no, nakikita natin sa pamamaraan ng kilala niya po itong taong ito. No? Would like to pass, would like to focus, would like to demonstrate, would like to reveal. In a simple way, they give big and bigger impact. Naging ano na siya eh, naging digital na yung pamamaraan ni Patricia nito sa Magandang community that everyone are aware. Instead of we fight one another, we really debate on why not focus on what we can do, what we can enrich, what we can imply in order to regain, in order to bring back history subject, Philippine history subject in the context of our education. So this could be a reflection for us, and would like to share some bits of hats this afternoon to you. Sa hopefully meron tayong mga kabataan na mga kabataan na magkaroon ng ganitong sombrero, no? Na maging isang contributor, maging refined, maging sustainable, no? Napakasimple pero meron siyang values. No, na nakita natin ito ay galing yung pagpoproseso nito dumadaan sa isang makasaysayang pamamaraan na hanggang ngayon nakikita pa na ito ay galing sa species ng banana na marami tayo, no? Dito yung sa Manila. Very sustainable siya. Fine, lustrous, and light in terms of color, in terms of quality. Hopefully yung ating Philippine history magkaroon ng convergence, magkaroon ng harmony, magkaroon ng magandang pagtatahi, no, na para ibabahagi sa susunod na generation. So another, yung multicolored, no, ang ating kasaysayan ay ginahalin tulad ko, halimbawa sa kasaysayan na sombrero, no, yung ating makulay na nakaraan, yung ating unique, ang ating creative at innovative na pangyayari sa kasalukuyan at sa hinahan. Gayun din ito ay galing sa young bully, no? Kailangan natin magtanim ng tamang impormasyon, tamang mga pamamaraan, tamang mga pangyayari na magbibigay ng refleksyon, malalim na refleksyon sa ating mga kabataan, sa ating mga at sa ating lipunan na magsisimbolo, no? Na maitatahi sa isang magandang produkto na ipagmamalaki. Gayon din yung ating pinakakilalang sombrero, no? Yung sinisimbolo sa atin bilang masipag, matalino, very critical. Ito nga yung tinatawag natin na salakot hat. Another yung balangoy, ito yung farmers. In a simple, meaningful, pero they are the prime movers. Their color is a yellow-brown straw hat, simple, hard-working, sinisimbolo nitong balangoy farmers. So we need to address, no? We need to support, we need to really put premium in teaching the history of farming, agriculture in the Philippines. And then yung tabugaw, yung upuhan, ito yung natural, self-sustaining, productive, and we can harvest. The characteristics niya, let us all be transparent in the subject, in our manner, of bringing back this subject in education. And itong taong to became the national treasure. He was one of the great thinkers, right? The perfect book to attribute his culture-rich hats. Until now, this really reflects the ingenuity, the strength, the history, where we are really coming from. Ito yung meron tayo. And then sa ating rehiyon, meron naman tayo existing na tinatawag na with the National Historical Commission of the Philippines. And then the next leg namin ay hopefully matuloy yung tinatawag natin cultural and local history mapping in aid and support of the National Historical Network of the Philippines para mas palalimin niya yung ating payamanin niya yung ating lokal na kasaysayan sa ating rehiyon o sa iba pang rehiyon. So meron din tayong tinatawag na mga supplementary learning na edited for this year, no, na ginagamit sa Araling Panlipunan 3 as early as grade 3 na ito ay nakabatay sa ating rehiyon. Gayon din, hopefully magkaroon tayo ng localized training workshop sa NCR na on the pipeline na ito na magkaroon ito ng leg dito sa ating rehiyon. Likewise, we have a strong partnership with LGU, with NACP, and we attended a lot of forums, and hopefully this time is not enough to share these things to you. No, may mga ganitong mga pagpapayaman ng ating kultura. We are now utilizing some National Historical Commission produced pre-recorded museum tours now available in our DepEd that you can utilize for the enriching, no, strengthening. Hopefully marami pang mga ganitong narrative sa inyo pong conference, magkaroon pa tayo ng more like Patricia nun, a community of Philippine history as an advocacy. Currently, another partner is with PIBED, push-throughing towards Civica PH in NCR. Hopefully, it will come across to all regions. There is an upcoming training in the Civica PH, the digital mainstream, sponsored by PIBED and partner with HABI as a group. And other partners like IBM and PDSP for digitalization for IBM skills are now soon to be cascaded in the regional level. And then these are the partners currently we have in the National Capital Region. And to take some sharings with you with our late national artist in terms of literature, the level of Epsilon said. Number 10 that we start that I have learned from him, it is better to ask stupid questions than to commit stupid mistakes. Number 9, teaching is the noblest profession in the world. The influence of teachers extends beyond the classroom. Without memory, there's no nation. Remember our roots. Children must be better than their parents, or else there's no progression. The battle of each is how to be excellent. Compete with yourself. Try to do better than last year. Never compromise our principles. Education is knowing who our students are, what they are thinking, get into their minds. Number 3, teachers. history teachers must always be capable of empathizing. If we cannot empathize, we cannot be a teacher. He who stands alone is the strongest. Simple person is not powerless. He can only be powerless if he doesn't act. Action must be preceded by thinking. And last but not the least, all of life is a learning process. Good afternoon, and thank you so much for being part. Let us continue for this advocacy for this. Mabuhay at pag-ani po sa lahat.
Mabuhay po. Maraming salamat po, Sir Andrew E. That was a very wonderful presentation, actually. That was really informative, and I like what you said. You know, the high school Philippine history movement is really trying to work with the Department of Education and uplifting the Philippine history, not also, you know, that sense of nationalism in our students, in our youth. And I don't know about you, but after this webinar, I think I'm gonna go buy a traditional hat. Once again, Mr. Andrew E. Tan, maraming salamat po for that wonderful and very informative presentation. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we shall introduce our next speaker. So our next speaker is Ma'am Mona Magnovelus. She serves as the national president of the Autism Society Philippines. She worked towards advanced degrees in business administration, applied business economics, and strategic market communications. She is also a self-confessed history geek, Ninuno hunter, and certified tita. She is a passionate genealogist involved in growing family trees for clans here and abroad, and in nurturing family forests as a Philippine curator on genie.com. She is active on various social media platforms and has gained a following as Mighty Magulang, where she discusses history and genealogy. Ladies and gentlemen, we are very honored and very privileged to have none other than Ma'am Mona Magnovelus, Mighty Magulang, as our next speaker.
Thank you so much, Alphonse, for the kind introduction. And let me just set up my presentation, if you don't mind. I will start sharing my screen. And in the meantime, I guess I do want to share with all of you how happy I am and how lucky I am to be able to speak to all of you today. I do value the role of teachers and the role of the academe in building not just knowledge but also values. In our country, I think that's very very important. So, una-una po, no, I would like to also disclose that I am not a teacher. I am only a teacher to 3 kids because I have my 3 kids, and parang sa kanilang tatlo, parang quota na ako. um, I am the national president of the Autism Society Philippines. So in that advocacy, I meet a lot of extraordinary teachers who help uh, learners with a diverse set of learning challenges, no? At pag pinapanood ko sila, alam ko na hindi ko po kaya gawin ang ginagawa ng mga professional teachers. At hindi carry ng powers ko na magturo in the way that many of you do, the teachers who are in this room today. Saludo po ako sa inyo. Ganda lang po ang ambag ko. Pang TikTok lang, char. So, ayun. So, like, many of you know me from TikTok nga, no? I create content on history and genealogy. These are my passions. I began this not because of anything. I didn't want to, I did not aim to educate anyone. I just needed a creative outlet. When I started, sabi ko, hindi ako nagsasayaw. Hindi ako nagsiskit. Ang haba-haba ng videos ko. Malamang mga anak ko lang ang manonood sa akin. Malamang, hindi pa ako sigurado doon. After some posts went viral and young people began appreciating learning about things that they never really learned or discussed in classrooms, I became a tita/teacher to a TikTok generation. So, ano ba nangyari sa internet? I wanted to address this environment because that is where my content lives. Sabi nga nila, edu, wow. There's so much education that can be used on the internet pero hindi nangyayari. Minsan yung mga educators, sina-smart shame pa sila. So the internet democratized information. Anyone can publish, anyone can amplify, anyone can edit, anyone, there are no editors. There's no trash can. This means that content creators are no longer trained journalists or educators. They are no longer experts. Those with partisan agenda and poor access to correct information also have the platform to distribute lies to the public. The regulatory powers are no longer with government, but with the platform themselves. And many forgo acting on these untruths in the name of freedom of expression. So, fake news is everywhere, mga kapatid. Sure, content creators put it out there, but amplification by believers through chat groups, comments, create a viral effect. I also learned recently that there is a shift in the activities of troll farms from social media platforms to another public domain, wikis. We now see that there is a threat to the veracity of our collective knowledge that lives in the digital space. So kailangan po tayong maging masigasig. We know that fake news and real news have the same engagement. In fact, Facebook made a study, or Meta made a study right before the last US presidential elections. They found that the closer they got to the elections, false stories got more engagements compared to legitimate news. As in, nag-overtake yung engagement with false stories. Because fake news is sexy. Fake news is controversial. Fake news draws the reader. And being a foot soldier in this war on truth, I think we all have to be aware of things we can do better. And I would like to share a couple of things that I learned. So una-una, we have to understand social media algorithm. Watching videos from fake news purveyors so that you could comment or react or repost only increases their relevance. As a community, we have to take the air from their wings. I call it angry watching. Yung parang, galit na galit ako, papanoorin ko siya. Uy, nakita mo na ba to? Uy, nakita mo na ba to? Or people ask me that all the time, Ma'am, can you comment on this? Doing that increases their relevance. And we know it's untrue. So why do it? We have to analyze ourselves because we already know how it works. Pero hindi natin mapigilan yung sarili natin. That has something to do with us and not the person who is telling the untruth. Parang pag may aksidente, parang hindi mo mapigilan yung sarili mo, kailangan tumingin, kailangan mo huminto at makiosyoso. So we have to manage ourselves, and hopefully that will also address that issue. No? We have to be okay with blocking and reporting fake news peddlers and unauthentic accounts. I've seen this in the last year that I've been very active on social media. And I tell individuals who talk to me and ask me for advice that you have to analyze content that you read. You have to have fact-checking tools. Ang dami na. Diba? Ang dami ng mga news outlets that have facts first, PH, check PH, para ma-validate yung mga stories. And you also have to use the filtering capabilities of your platform. May nagsabi sa akin na Gen Z na actually blocking is like the 2022 version of Pikon Talo. Na tita ko, hindi ako pikon. I just don't want to give you a microphone. Di ba? Parang iimbitahin mo ba yung taong masama ang ugali into your house? Di ba? So be comfortable with blocking and reporting people. Yun ang dapat kasi deserve nila yon. Okay. We also cannot underestimate the comment section. Ang nakikita ko, pag ina-allow ko yung mga trolls or yung asal troll to stay in my comment section, dumadami sila, parang nanganganak. So I have a 3-strike rule. I actually am very engaged in comment section. When somebody disagrees with me, a conversation with them. My children tell me nga, Mom, don't reply to that person, binibait ka niyan. Baka naman hindi niya talaga alam. Sige, bigyan natin ng sources. O sige, mag-usap tayo tungkol sa kasaysayan. Pero pag nakatatlong balikan na kami, and I still am getting a sense na talagang they were there to kind of trigger lang the conversation, ang bigyan siya ng mikropono, I put a stop to it. Hindi na matatapos 'yon. I have to be comfortable with the fact na we are not going to agree, especially those who are also victims of misinformation. We may not always agree, and that's okay. But they have no right to disrespect me and disrespect my space. I do report and block, and sometimes it is very important also for content creators and even those who read comments. You have to practice restraint. Huwag niyo patulan lahat. Kasi, di ba, hindi naman lahat genuine, hindi naman lahat organic behavior. So, just practice restraint. I think that is something those who want to build tech savvy would really have to have. Now, ito, sinasabi nila kailangan tayo magturo ng critical thinking at social media literacy sa mga kabataan at sa mga bata. Disturb the distribution, dapat matuto silang mag-stop, wag nang i-propagate ang fake news. They have to engage meaningfully in comment section, and they have to be good we have to be good examples to children. Pero alam nyo, actually ang mas grabe yata yung generation namin. We actually need the help of young people to teach the older generations critical thinking and social media literacy. Sa totoo lang, I think your moms and your dads may have, well, at least many that I know, actually the ones na nabubudol sa fake news, nabubudol sa mga satire accounts, di ba? Because they are not familiar with how these things work. So kailangan, yes, teachers and parents should teach their children, pero minsan the children should also teach their parents. Okay, so this one naman, this slide is really for those who want to create content. I know a lot of our teachers, our young teachers, and also our young students are digital natives. Kumaga, nung pinanganak kayo, may internet na. So, I guess I think what is very important is that you have to be truthful. You have to be authentic. You don't have to put on an act. You also have to be introspective when it comes to your content. Totoo ba yung sinabi ko? Did I not check my information? Kung nagkamali ako, I should be humble enough to say na nagkamali ako. And while we are engaging with people, I think it's very important that we remember our values and we remember absolutes. One example that I noticed, and I will admit, it has only been a year since I knew the meaning of bardagulan. Hindi ko alam ang ibig sabihin ng bardagulan a year ago. And I've seen that on social media. I've seen that on TikTok na wala silang ginawa kung hindi magsagutan in through a video. And sometimes I understand that there are issues, and I understand that there are matters that need to be discussed, no? But the way that we have conversations has may igaganda pa siya. Kahit na pro or con, kahit na anong side of the line you stand. I think one thing that is very important is we cannot become the monsters we are trying to slay. If we are trying to fight disinformation, then we have to be able to also communicate honestly. We cannot be deceiving. We cannot be manipulative when it comes to our communication style. So ganun. So as a history content creator, I am awed by the lives of prominent Filipinos and those who lived, in the past, uh, because beyond their commitment to service, to excellence, they also embrace traditional values of honor, yan, pagiging marangal, benevolence, kabutihang loob, and patriotism, ang pagiging makabayan. Kung hindi yan ang patutunguhan natin, parang walang saysay yung ginagawa nating walang katapusang pagfa-fact check. Our efforts should not be about disparaging others or panalo kami, talo kayo. It should be about uplifting social discourse. Bilang mga guro, bilang mga mag-aaral, at kaming mga naguguro-guruan, kailangan nating maghanap ng sagot sa mga tanong katulad ng how do we nurture a deeper sense of duty in young Filipinos? How can honor become fashionable in the eyes of Gen Zers? How can we teach our children respect for authority? How can the youth hold those in power to a higher standard? So these are themes that I attempt to cover in my content. These topics typically swim beneath the surface of the stories that I tell. Parents and teachers and even students, no? We all have to be the first to reimagine the future. Kasi tayo ang nagtatanim ng binhi. Diba? We cannot raise a generation of honest citizens if teachers and parents forget the values, or the students are not receptive to the values that are at the core of our DNA as Filipinos, or should be at the core of our DNA. In connecting to our values, we have to find hope. Hindi po tayo pwedeng mawalan ng pag-asa na baliwala, ganyan din naman yan, matagal ng ganyan yan. We have to find a path to our ambitions as human beings and as a nation. Love, joy, community, justice, democracy, peace. Yon, yung mga gusto ng mga beauty contestants, dapat gusto rin natin yon. At syempre, dahil genealogist ako, I am hoping that in rediscovering what our ancestors valued, we can build a nation that is a fitting inheritance for our children. Pasensya na po, medyo preachy ako towards the end, pero feel na feel ko po yon, promise. Maraming salamat po sa makikinig at sana doon tayo palagi sa tama at totoo. Maraming salamat.
Thank you so much. As you put it, di ba? I have no words. Talagang whenever I'm a big fan of your videos, and I'm sure our viewers are as well. And that was an excellent presentation. And I remember attending a conference as well before, and that was exact gist of their message. There's a lack of respect and authority, especially to the sources that are supposed to give out the factual information. And I love what you said about, it's not just about studying things like history, but it's also about learning what we can take from that history. And essentially, it's being good citizens. Maraming salamat po.
Correct. Alam mo, Alphonse, dagdag ko lang, dapat lahat tayo naghahanap ng saysay sa kasaysayan. Diba? Because there is a reason why we share these stories. May saysay siya sa buhay natin ngayon.
Opo, tamang-tama po kayo. As Ambeth Ocampo said, history comes from the looking for that saysay sa salaysay, that meaning from the history. And with that, maraming salamat po muli for gracing our event and for giving us that wonderful presentation. We're going to make sure that as a movement and as individuals, we do our part in advancing and forwarding that message of being good citizens and of course finding that meaning in history. Thank you so much po to Mighty Magulang. And now, ladies and gentlemen, if we can proceed to our next speaker, let's keep the ball rolling, the momentum going. If our is our next speaker in the meeting? Okay. So for our next speaker, I would like to call on my co-host to present a very distinguished and honorable guest who I'm sure will keep that momentum going.
Now, I shall introduce our second conference speaker. Our second speaker is Dr. Joanne V. Serrano. She is the Dean of the Faculty of Management and Development Studies of the University of the Philippines, Open University, UPOU. With her 27 years of service in the UPOU, Dr. Serrano is committed to empowering and motivating both the young and mature and to putting in place a faculty-based learning support system for the university and its stakeholders. She was awarded as the Academic Excellence Award when she finished her PhD in Development Communication in 2013. As an accomplished researcher and faculty, she has published research on various topics like information and communication technologies, open and distance e-learning, and on environmental advocacy. One of her initiatives was the University of the Philippines Open University's collaboration with the Human Rights Violations Victims Memorial Commission and the Bantayog ng Mga Bayani Foundation. This partnership launched free online courses in Wikipedia editing and fighting historical distortion. Ladies and gentlemen, let us welcome Dr. Joanne Serrano.
Magandang hapon sa inyo lahat. Naririnig niyo po ba ako? I hope malinaw. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me, and I would like to say hi to our distinguished speaker one, Ma'am Mona. Nice to meet you here. Allow me to share my presentation. This is actually related to Ma'am Mona's presentation, pero this is more focused on the education side. Bilang tayong mga guro, hindi man ako guro ng kasaysayan, pero ako isang guro ng komunikasyon at napaka-importante ngayong information age na maintindihan natin kung ano ba ang interplay ng technology, communication technology at ng history. Okay, so let me just share my presentation. Nakikita po ba? I hope mag-load kasi medyo mahina ang connection ko ngayong hapon na sa bahay lang ako. Pero yeah, so I'll focus on social media kasi katulad ng nasabi kanina ni Ma'am Mona, napaka-importante nito. And I just want to say that I am deeply honored to be here. Nung nag-email sa akin ang inyong president, agad-agad ako tumanggap. Nakita ko pa lang yung about advocacy tungkol sa truth. I'm not a history teacher, as I've said, but I'm a teacher of communication and advocacy, and I really value activities and events that call attention to issues and problems in our society na kumbaga nagpo-push for solutions to bring about change. So I will focus my talk on social media and communication technology and how it influences our history and everything in our lives for that matter. Just for context, na-mention naman kanina sa pagpapakilala, I'm in the field of open and distance e-learning. And the UPOU delivers its courses via distance mode, and we really rely heavily in technology, specifically online technology. In fact, we have delivered all our courses fully online since 2007. That's way before the pandemic and way before universities in the Philippines were even contemplating in integrating online technologies in their teaching. And in online learning, it is important to really take a look at how technology, such as social media, influences how we teach our content, and how can it also affect how our students learn. I'm not saying, syempre, alam naman nating lahat to, na-mention na ng previous speakers, that historical revisionism and distortions just started in the time of social media. In fact, decades before social media was invented, we see books and documents that attempted to distort and revise history. This is not something new, but I'll be focusing my talk on social media because we have seen how powerful social media is in spreading information. And the key or major development in the field of information and communication technology, or ICT, in the past 20 years or so is really the emergence of social media. Social media has drastically changed the communication landscape, affecting not just how we communicate with friends, but even how we communicate with our families. Di ba dati tatawagan pa natin, ngayon may group chat tayo among our family members. It has also changed our working environment. I'm sure kayo, mga co-teachers nyo, paano ba kayo nagko-communicate sa inyong mga co-teachers, di ba, through social media as well. It has also changed how we do our shopping. Aminin, paano na ba tayo magsha-shop? May mga mine ba tayo dyan? And then, of course, how we conduct our business. And the COVID-19 actually has become a catalyst to propel more advancement in social media. And it has even changed even how we consult our doctors, di ba? Pag nagpapadoktor tayo, minsan ginagamit na natin ang iba-ibang platforms. And of course, how we conduct our classes and communicate with our students. So just a quick poll dito sa chat. Makikita ko ba ang chat? How do you use social media? Makikita ko po ba to sa chat or sa Q&A? Paki-say lang ng yes if you use social media. Okay, so far halos lahat gumagamit ng social media. So how many social media platforms are you currently active in? Pwede po bang quick poll lang, pakilagay lang sa answer natin kung dalawa, isa. Okay. So if makikita po natin, sorry ha, let me just stop share. Kasi medyo na, okay, kung makikita po natin, halos lahat, although marami naman hindi pa sumagot, pero dun sa mga sumagot, marami ang gumagamit ng social media. And for those who answered, more than one ang social media platforms. So just some quick facts. Ano po, wait lang, medyo humihina aking internet. Right. Balik po tayo sa share screen ko lang. Okay. I hope naglo-load siya. Ayan. Okay. Nag-load naman po, ano? Okay, thank you for your answers. And let me just present some figures. Ano? So itong recent global research as of January 2022, this shows that typical internet users, it shows here that the average time that we spend per hour per day is 7 hours per day. So to be exact, 6 hours and 58 minutes. So this is using the internet across all devices. So just for context, so we have 24 hours a day. And if we assume that the average person spends roughly 7 to 8 hours per day sleeping, Then we have 16 hours wherein we are awake. And then almost half of that time we spend them online. And according to this research, the amount of time we spend online continues to increase, with the daily average increasing by 40 minutes per day over the past year. Sabihin natin 4 minutes lang naman pala, no? So it's not such a big increase. But if you add up all across all over the world's internet users, that's actually 5 billion additional days of internet use in 2022. Now, let's take a look at the Philippine data. No? So ito, kita natin, Filipinos are next to South Africans with the average internet user now spending more than 10 hours per day online. So just for context, on the other end of the scale, yung Japanese users report 4.5 hours per day.
Excuse me po.
Yes.
My apologies po, but your screen is still it still says loading po sa
Alright, yun. Mukhang may problem talaga ako sa ano. Okay lang ba na hindi ko na siya i-screen share? I mean i-slideshow.
Yeah, I think it's better if you don't use the slideshow function.
Thank you for calling my attention. Alright, sige. So lakihan ko na lang siguro. Ayan. Okay. So, ayan. Pagtiyagaan na muna po natin itong hindi naka-slideshow. So if nakikita natin, so we are second to the South Africans in terms of yung average time spent dito sa internet. And then, in terms of spend time with media, if we'll take a look, medyo bumababa talaga yung TV, pero dyan sa share na yan, kasama din yung over-the-top videos such as Netflix, and they're actually, kumbaga increasing ang viewing time ng mga gantong klaseng platforms. So, itong latest research na to, it shows internet users spend 44% of their total TV time watching streaming services. So talagang lumalakas tong mga Netflix types. And on the average, global internet users aged 16 to 24 spend roughly 1.5 hours per day watching streaming content. So compare dito dun sa mga linear na tinatawag nating TV like broadcast and cable. Now, for context, the average time that internet users spend watching streaming TV increased by 2 minutes per day over the past year. So nakikita natin nag-i-increase talaga siya, ganun yung trend niya. Now let's take a look at the social media naman. So at an average of 2 hours and 27 minutes per day, social media accounts for the largest single share of our connected media time. So at 35% of the total. And the time we spend using social media has actually grown again over the past year by up to 2 minutes per day. So katulad nga ng sinabi ko, 2 minutes yan per day, akala natin maliit, pero if we compute that yung aggregate, napakalaki niyan. And however, social media share of overall internet time has actually fallen slightly since the start of the COVID-19 pandemic. But this is largely because people have embraced a variety of new online activities over the past years. Kasi wala naman tayong masyadong ginagawa nung tayo naka-lockdown, right? Pero ngayon, nakikita natin na bumabalik na naman siya kasi we're up and about na naman. And we have to note that we usually use social media as the base platform for getting information. So, kumbaga, yun muna yung pinupuntahan ng mga tao and then saka siya pupunta dun sa content na interesado siya. Okay. Now, it's also interesting to note that the mobile share of our daily connected time continues to grow. Just to show you na mobile phone is what we actually use to access content and social media ngayon. So 53.5% of the time that working age internet users spend online. So ito yung mga gumagamit nito through mobile phone. Now, what I'm trying to say with all these figures is that we cannot disregard technology and social media in our teaching. So lahat kayo dito teachers. The traditional way of viewing education says that pedagogy is the driver and technology is the accelerator. But there has always been a debate on whether technology is the driver or should it always be pedagogy. But as seen in in the figures in the previous slides, we cannot deny that technology plays a very important role in our lives. And for me, these two should always be in a symbolic relationship. Now, I see the relationship between technology and pedagogy as complementary. From my own experience, we cannot separate technology from pedagogy, nor can we prioritize one over the other. They go hand in hand, supporting each other. Now, in order to understand the symbiotic relationship, how this works, let us try to understand first why people use the internet and social media. So if we look at these reasons, almost everything that people do are essentially based on the internet and social media. So from finding information, staying in touch with friends, keeping up to date with news and events, researching how to do things, watching videos. I'm sure you can all relate, di ba? Minsan hinahanap pa nga natin how to cook, some new menu, di ba? Lahat yan hinahanap na natin sa internet. So basically everything really we all get from the internet. So it means that the influence of the internet is really being used in ways that shape all the things in our lives: politics, business, world culture, education, careers, innovation, and others. Na discuss kanina ni Ma'am Mona yung about algorithm. Lalo nitong napopropel yung interest natin sa ibang mga bagay. Kasi pag nag-visit ka, for example, ng isang site and you're interested in that particular topic, ang kasunod na nun, i-feed ka na ng lahat ng information related to that topic kasi nakuha na ng social media platform yung algorithm mo. And then, ito naman yung mga rason for using social media. To support a cause they feel strongly about. So wait lang po. Okay. To support a cause that they feel strongly about, share to pass valuable information. They use social sharing to build image and demonstrate who they are and what they stand for. To interact, grow, get a sense of fulfillment, nurture relationships, and stay in touch with others. And to participate and feel involved in things happening around the world. So if makikita natin, lahat ng reasons na to are all reasons na importante sa konsepto ng advokasya. So kaya yung social media platform really are very powerful tools for advocacy. So I'm just saying that kasi para alam natin as teachers, because this movement, you're pushing for an advocacy na napaka-importante. And I think it's important that you know how to really maximize the use of these platforms. Okay, now let me just run through some impacts of social media in various aspects in our lives. So una, the impact on politics. So we have seen in the recent election how social media was used and misused during the campaign. And this is not new noong 2022. In fact, sinasabi ng Facebook, yung 2016 actually is the ground zero ng mga disinformation related to politics. This is very important for us teachers to look into since our students in high school will be voters next year and in the coming elections. It is important that we know how and where they get their information on political issues. There's actually a research by Pew Research in the US naman. Ito, very related kasi yung ating behavior sa mga Americans. 1 in 5 US adults, they get their political news primarily through social media. And the study also finds that those who do get their political news primarily through social media tend to be less well-informed and more likely to be exposed to unproven claims than people who get their news from traditional sources. And this is from an empirical study. So in comparison to other media, the influence of social media and political campaigns has increased tremendously. So kailangan natin talagang bantayan ito, especially dun sa role nito sa electoral politics. And then in terms of impact on social processes and structures, alam natin na almost a quarter of the world's population is now on Facebook. And we all know that even in the Philippines, kahit nga yung mga dogs and pets natin have Facebook accounts, di ba? And because social networks feed off interactions among people, they become more powerful as they grow. But of course, syempre, hindi to puro bad things. Ano, thanks to the internet and social media, each person, na-mention to kanina ni Ma'am Mona, each person with marginal views can actually see that he or she is not alone. And these people can find one another via social media. They can do things like create memes, publish content, bolster their worldview, and then, you know, eventually nagiging mainstream sila. Kaya importante na masubaybayan natin, lalo na yung mga estudyante natin, kung paano yung behavior nila and paano sila mag-participate sa social media. So kasi without social media, social, ethical, environmental, and political ills would have minimal visibility. Ibig sabihin, maunting-maunti lang makakakita nito. So ito talagang social media, it increases visibility of issues, you know? And ang kagandahan nito somehow, it has shifted the balance of power from the hands of the few to the masses. Ang flip side lang nito, sinasabi nila na social media is slowly killing real activism and replacing it with slacktivism. So nakikita natin to, medyo passive na ang mga ilang tao in terms of being actively engaged in issues. So ang ginagawa nila, they just share content, pero hindi natin alam if they are really engaged in really pushing for those issues. Okay. Now, impact on education. Nakita natin in the last 2 years, because isang reason din dito is a digital divide in our country. So, yung social media, lalo na yung Facebook, kasi it has actually become a main platform for learning. Kasi ito lang yung social media or a platform na actually free yung data, di ba? Nakakagamit ka kahit wala kang internet. Kahit wala kang pera, pwede ka mag-access ng information. So siya yung naging affordable and accessible platform for many Filipinos. And it has become a common tool for learning. Kahit na to, despite the issues of lack of privacy and some instances of mga cheating through Facebook, pero hindi to nagpapigil kasi ito nga lang yung halos available platform for many Filipinos. So napaka-importante ng impact nito sa education kasi ito yung mabilis nating ma-access ng mga kabataan, mga estudyante. So importante na isinasama natin to sa ating pagtuturo kung paano natin mai-integrate itong paggamit ng technology na ito. Hindi kasi enough na you just share content o kaya you use it for communication platform. Kailangang masyado tayong mapanuri kung ano ba yung mga nandun sa ating Facebook accounts kasi nga napaka-importante nito. Lalo na kung ginagamit natin ito for education. And then the impact on commerce, di ba? So nakita naman natin na ginagamit ito ng mga organizations when they market their products. Dito rin nila tinitingnan yung insights kung okay ba yung mga produkto nila, kung okay ba ang feedback or okay ba ang insights sa mga tao tungkol sa product nito. And then of course the impact on work. Ito importante ding malaman natin to, lalo na sa mga teachers na member nitong movement. Social media has a profound effect on recruitment and hiring. And I actually do this a lot. Pag may nag-a-apply sa akin na empleyado, antimano nag-check ako social media. What are their views? So for example, meron kang akong isang empleyado na hindi ko masyadong gusto on views on climate change, views on COVID na nagiging peddler of fake news itong mga tao na to. So kailangan maging maingat tayo kasi nagiging source ito for recruitment and hiring. And of course, impact on relationships, privacy, and well-being. So alam naman natin na itong social media, napakalaki ng cyberbullying. Napakalaki ng nangyayari ng lack of privacy, security issues, ang daming challenges dito. So kailangan din tayong maging aware. And yung fear of missing out, ang mga taong addicted na dito sa social media, na-exacerbate yung feeling nila na nale-left out sila pag hindi sila nakakahawak ng kanilang mobile gadgets na kung saan nandun ang kanilang social media platforms. Now, what can we do as teachers? So importante ito, ito I'm talking in general, not just as history teachers, but teachers in general. Pero more so, yung mga history teachers. So una, let us do a self-check. Ano ba yung ating competency when it comes to media and information literacy? We talk about fake news, we talk about disinformation, we talk about historical revisionism and distortions. Pero tayo, let's do a self-check. Enough ba ang competency natin when it comes to information and media literacy? Can we define and articulate information needs? Kaya ba nating mag-locate and mag-access ng information? Can we assess information that they are valid? Ano ba ang veracity ng mga information na yan? Can we organize them? Can we make ethical use of this information? Can we communicate this information? And can we use our skills for information processing? Aside from that, can we understand the role and functions of media in democratic societies? Can we understand the conditions under which media can fulfill their functions? Hindi kasi ibig sabihin na social media is, can be freely accessed by everyone, na wala na tayong responsibility dito. Na-mention to kanina ni Mamo na lahat ng importanteng values. But these are actually MIL literacy and these are competencies that are required from teachers. So kailangan kayo mag-self-check. Sinasabi ng UNESCO, ito yung mga information literacy and media literacy competencies na dapat meron kayo. So hindi ito question of, should I have this? It's really a must kasi as teachers, kailangan meron kayo nitong competencies na to. So I challenge every one of you here, maggawa tayo ng self-check. Meron ba ako nitong media and information literacy competencies na ito? And then, syempre, be aware of the prevalence of information disorder. Kung hindi natin to alam, kailangan nating alam. Meron information disorder that's really happening right now. So this is a term that communication experts or scholars use to refer to the many ways our information environment is polluted. So alam natin dapat ang pagkakaiba-iba ng disinformation, misinformation, and malinformation. So when we talk of disinformation, these are false information that is created to harm a person, social group, organization, or country, and that the person who is disseminating it knows it is false. So hindi tayo pwedeng maging source ng disinformation because we are teachers. At lalong-lalo na, hindi rin excuse na hindi natin alam. So hindi pwede yung misinformation. Kasi ang misinformation naman, they're false but not intended to harm. So, but the person who is disseminating it believes that it is true. So for example, ikaw isang teacher ka, may nakita kang content, shinare mo ito, pero false pala ito. Hindi pa rin to acceptable. Kasi as a teacher, you have a responsibility to check if the information is factual. And of course, yung malinformation, this is information that is based on reality, but it is used to inflict harm on a person, organization, or country. Okay, and syempre na-mention na to kanina, ano ba tong mga fake news? Fake news are news articles that are intentionally and verifiably false. And the problem with fake news is that it mimics the reportage or more established news media organizations, especially the ones that are identified with the dominant media. So let me just give you some practice tips kasi as teachers, importante to. This is really not again a question of should I do this? It's a question of you must do this. Kasi as teachers, kayo ang pinagkukuhanan ng impormasyon ng maraming estudyante. So, really think and check before you share. So, syempre, these are minsan iisip natin common sense ito, pero you will be surprised pag nagtanong ka sa mga colleagues ninyo, co-teachers, and even your students na medyo mas mature na, do you know the source of your content? Anong sasagot nila sa'yo? Nakita ko lang to sa Facebook or sa TikTok. Or sa AIG nakita ko to. And guilty tayo lahat dito. Minsan, dahil shinare ito ng colleague natin or a friend na trusted, hindi na tayo nag-check. So, syempre, kailangan natin i-check. Hindi ibig sabihin na shinare ito, for example, ng president ng UP, sure na. Kailangan pa rin natin i-check. Tama ba yung shinare niya? Sino ba yung author ng content? Check the domain name. May mga unusual URL that ends in loco. Yan, mga conventionally fake yan. Check nyo rin yung About Us page. Check nyo rin yung links. And then, look for signs of low quality. Pag nakita nyo na medyo mga words in all caps, headlines with glaring grammatical errors, bold claims with no sources, and sensationalist images, for example, may mga nakita kayong mga women in bikinis. So yan, mga popular clickbait yan. So ang tawag diyang clickbait, para bang iniinganyo ka mag-click, so binibait ka. And then look out for poor web design. Kung yan naman ay legitimate source ng news, I'm sure they can afford to hire graphic artists. Good web design is a sign of credibility, and legitimate news sources will prioritize having a proper website. And ito, napaka-importante, you should triangulate the information. Read about the subject and verify the facts from a number of sources. Hindi lang isa. Pwede kayo mag-start with Wikipedia and Google. In fact, napaka-importante ng sinabi kanina ni Ma'am Mona, dumadami na ang sumisira sa information ng Wikipedia. So as teachers, really I encourage everyone to be part of this movement na bantayan itong ating Wikipedia. And then you have to check the article sources. Sources substantiate an argument. Check any references included in the article and see if they supply evidence that support the claims. And of course, check the article's link. Hindi ibig sabihin na may link dyan ay tama na yon. You have to check the link. And don't trust the article just because it came from a trusted source. If you get your news from social media, i-check nyo who shared the article. Just because you trust this person, do not think that they are infallible. Even experts forget to fact check and post misinformation when overcome by emotion and political rage. At alam natin, social media algorithms means that you're most likely to see content that you already agree with. So hindi ibig sabihin na nag-a-agree ka, tama yon. So you have to check the content. And last two tips, for our action as teachers. Try to be active in organizations fighting for truth. This is a very good example, the high school Philippine history movement. And there are other movements. Kailangan nating maging aktibo kasi otherwise ma-realize natin, nabura na yung truth, nabura na yung facts, at napalitan na ito ng mga fiction and make up stories. And then number 5, be a champion in your school and respective institutions. So hindi ibig sabihin na walang programa, for example, in your school, wala ka nang gagawin. You can be a wiki editor. If you need, kung kailangan nyo ng contact, let me know. Meron tayong mga friends na wiki editor. You can write in wikis. You can contribute in open educational repositories. And you can be content creator. So marami kayong pwedeng gawin. And lastly, let me just share some of the advocacies and some of the activities that we did at UPOU, so na-mention to kanina. So we did a module on how to fight disinformation, historical distortion. So this is actually a massive open online course on Wikipedia and fighting historical distortion. And last, before the election, we created a MOOC on maging mapanuring botante at mamamayan. So niran namin to for free sa UPOU MOOC site. If you would like to check some of the courses, meron kaming website which is model.upou.edu. edu.ph. And let me just share, ito, marami tayong pwedeng pagkuhanan ng mga libreng impormasyon. This is an example of a free content na dinevelop ng mga taga-UP sa Sentro ng Wikang Filipino. Ito yung tampok na aklat nila ngayon, which is Batas Militar. Pwede nyo itong i-download. You can use this as a resource and share among your colleagues and with your students. And with that, thank you very much. If you need to contact me, you can email me at this email address. Thank you for listening.
Maraming salamat po, Professor. That was a fantastic talk, and I love that it mirrored the presentation of Ma'am Mona earlier. As you said, we have the power po. We ourselves as individuals have the power to put a stranglehold on misinformation. You know, the algorithm that we have on social media, you know, we practically control and dictate it through our actions. And I believe that you presented this very effectively and clearly for all of our viewers here this afternoon. And hopefully we get more people on board, because as you mentioned earlier as well, understanding the problem would be the first step in really curtailing it. And so in understanding that misinformation is a problem that is not just on social media, we get to be able to develop ourselves to think more clearly and critically, especially. Maraming salamat po for illuminating this conference and for that fantastic presentation. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we will proceed to our question and answer portion. So if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in our Q&A or our chat box, and we will be reading them out loud. So if you have any questions for our presenters, please leave them on the chat box down below. We have a question here from an anonymous attendee. It's not addressed to anyone specifically, so they say, paano po mababantayan o makikita ng teachers ang behavior or engagement ng students sa social media? Kung meron po tayong Department Order number 49 kung saan pinapaiwas ang mga teachers na makipag-interact sa social media. So, Professor Serrano, would you like to answer this question?
Yeah, siguro let me just share my views on this. Alam ko kasi na pagod na mga guro. I mean, ang mga guro, ang daming trabaho, tapos babantayan pa natin yung social media behavior ng mga estudyante natin, parang baka hindi na natin kayanin, pero I think importante na if we receive reports na mga ganito, kailangan nating tingnan, pero more than that, I think we can be proactive. Ipasok natin tong mga gantong klaseng pagtuturo sa simula pa lang ng klase natin. Ipasok natin siya sa lahat ng subjects na tinuturo natin. Kahalagahan nitong pagkakaunawa ng social media platform. Ano ba tong mga information disorder na to? Pag napaintindi natin ng ayos to sa mga bata, mas maiintindihan nila ano yung mga epekto ng kanilang mga ginagawa sa social media. Hindi ko sinasabi na agad-agad mangyayari yon, pero let us just be consistent in sharing this with our students. Kasi sa ngayon, kung ginagawa nga yan ng mga guro, isipin natin na mas paano pa yung mga bata na hindi pa ganun ka-mature. So ako, okay naman na tingnan natin yung behavior nila social media, lalo na kung meron tayong enough time. Pero kung hindi natin kayang subaybayan lahat ng galaw ng mga bata, maging proactive tayo. Isama natin to sa mga pagtuturo. I-share natin yung mga content katulad nung kay Ma'am Mona, mga content na may matututo ang mga bata. In that way kasi kasama na rin yung algorithm doon eh. Pag yun ang binivisit nilang content lagi, ang i-feed sa kanilang account ay puro content na related doon at medyo somehow mababago yung kanilang pananaw. Thank you. I'm sure si Ma'am Mona may dadagdag siguro.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much for your insight, no? Actually, ako naman, you know how in pre-colonial Philippines, 'di ba? Wala namang mga guro, mga magulang, sila yung mentor. And pinapasa natin yung skills natin, pinapasa natin yung knowledge natin, not in a formal setting, but it is because we model and we have a relationship. So ako sometimes I feel that connection of teachers and alam ko na merong department order, so hindi natin pwede gawin, but ang opinion ko pa rin, students feel connected to their teachers outside the classroom. And sometimes yung mga ganong relationships, yun yung life changing. And ako I have that in my life, no. I think we have to allow a parent or a teacher to influence youth outside. I mean, not just only in academics, but also in social media, in other things. Parang okay sa akin na i-check ng teacher yung social media ng mga bata. Pero, mas importante, I think, for the students to see what their teacher posts. Kasi it is in the modeling that the kids are going to get inspired to do the right thing. And ito parang Karate Kid yan eh, parang Kung Fu Panda yan, di ba? Parang you have a mentor who you respect and you derive inspiration from. So ako yun eh. It's not just about teachers checking in on students, but it is also about teachers modeling the right kind of behavior on social media, and that in itself is a learning opportunity.
Great answers. That was a really a fantastic answer. I like what you said about being an example. I don't think I think hindi lang teachers ang pwedeng ano eh. We as individuals can also lead by example by exactly doing that. You know, presenting what is actually factual and fact checking whatever information we see online first, and then that's really the sort of thing that we should put in our social media platforms. And with that being said, we will now proceed to other questions who my co-host will now present and read right now.
So we have another question from Aaron Jerry Baguna. Since history requires a lot of reading, how can you encourage the youth to read history using social media? So if anyone of the speakers who wants to answer this.
I actually have kwento around that. So I am active on TikTok, right? And it is not a reading platform. It is a short video. And people, I think, even the platforms know it, that our current our current society reacts well to short format video. And what I have done is I've actually created a Google Doc where all of my references I put in the Google Doc. So if anyone asks me, ma'am, ano yung source mo niyan? Oh, please look in the link in my bio. I've also looked at the statistics on that link in my bio. 1% or less than 1% actually go to that page and looks at the sources. So that tells me that if we are going to be very honest, not very many people look at the references. So that's the honest truth. So for me, it is very, as a content creator, I think it is very important to make it easy for them to look for information by sharing, at least in, not on TikTok kasi hindi pwede ang TikTok for links, but I put it on Facebook, I put it on YouTube kung ano yung mga sources ko. And I have been trying to find sources na are online. Alam naman natin na maraming mga magagandang sources are in book form, pero kapag hindi digitized yung book, hindi napupuntahan ng mga kabataan. So talagang it is really on us, the content creators, and perhaps the teachers, to find a way to bridge that gap between the knowledge and the learner. And yun nga I think the teachers must also be challenged. Ma'am Joanne is already ahead of the curve here, na we have to change the way we teach based on how learners learn best. So yun talaga yung yun talaga yung kailangan hanapin ng teachers. Hindi madali, pero I think in that way, yes, you encourage reading because that's important to build expertise and to build your knowledge. Pero meron dapat baby steps to get there. And I hope yun nga, sana a lot of our teachers find those little little tips, little techniques para maitawid yung mga bata towards that kind of expertise.
Gusto ko lang dagdagan yung shinare ni Momona, no? Kasi actually gusto kong ibalik yung tanong sa inyo bilang mga guro. Paano kayo nagdi-design ng inyong instruction? Babalikan ko yung sinabi ko kanina about technology and pedagogy. Hindi kasi pwedeng mapaghiwalay ito. So when you design your content, you design your instruction, kailangan yung tingnan, itong mga estudyante ko ba na to, ano ang kanilang profile? So syempre Gen Z lahat siya na, no? Pero titingnan pa rin natin, dig deeper. Paano ba sila matuto? Sila ba ay more on text, more on video, more on audio? So we provide multimedia formats actually. Kailangan nating magsigasig dito kasi ito lang ang paraan para makuha natin yung attention ng mga bata lalo na sa napaka-importanting subject matter lalo na yung history. Kasi history, when we talk about history, ano ba ang nasa isip ng mga bata? Magme-memorize ako kung kailan pinanganak si Rizal, kailan namatay si Bonifacio. So ngayon, yung design natin dito, kailangan natin talagang paghandaan. Hindi to something na parang gagawa lang tayo ng lesson plan tapos na. Kailangan nating tingnan paano ba matuto itong aking set of students na to? How do they learn? Kasi ang mga bata, hindi naman pare-pareho. Alam natin lahat siya, kayong mga guro. Hindi yan lahat visual learners. Hindi rin lahat sila textual learner. So tingnan natin kung anong format ang pag-ignite ng kanilang interest. And tingnan natin ito at bigyan natin sila ng content depende sa kanilang kakayahan sa pag-aaral. So, and syempre yun nga, ibabalik ko sa inyo ang tanong na yun kung paano nyo ginagawa yun as teachers.
Maraming salamat po sa mga sagot ninyo. And I think we actually have questions coming from our very own leadership team and officers from the High School Philippine History Movement. And so I know I have my own questions, but I'll let my co-officers ask away because I know they're really curious and have a couple of queries that they would like to present. So I believe Sir Mark Madrona, he's raising his hand.
Yeah, hello. Thank you. First of all, thank you, Dr. Dean Solano, for being here with us, ma'am. And Mamona, nice to meet you again. For Ma'am Joanne, ito po yung question ko, ma'am, no? As regards Wikipedia, kasi alam po natin naging part ng advocacy po ninyo starting from last year and this 2022. Kasi nasanay ako, ma'am, sa UP, yung attitude ng mga professors as regards Wikipedia, automatically ay discounted agad as a source yan. Yung ganong thinking, ma'am, doon. Kapag ka Wikipedia, dapat hindi gagamitin. But we know for a fact that so many students still rely kasi magta-type sila sa Google, ma'am, yan yung number one search result na lalabas talaga. So mostly yan talaga yung lalabas, ma'am. So how do you guide, ma'am, no? What will be your suggestion for us teachers na yung iba po dito may mga teachers at the basic education level na how do we guide our students in using Wikipedia?
Thank you, Mark, for that question. So, unang-una kasi, mali kasi yung gamit natin ng Wikipedia. So definitely, when you use Wikipedia, you do not cite it. So tinitreat natin siya na parang encyclopedia, di ba? When you look for information, content in encyclopedia, just like a Wikipedia, hinahanap mo hahanapin mo pa rin yung primary source. So ibig sabihin, pag pumunta ka for example sa isang Wikipedia on martial law, for example. Hindi mo isa-cite si Wikipedia. Pupuntahan mo yung mga primary sources na nakalista dun sa baba. Yung mga nakalistang yon ang titingnan mo. Always a good starting point yung Wikipedia kasi sinamarize na to ng mga content creator nitong wiki at meron tong set of editors. Pero syempre, kung ikaw gumagawa ka ng academic work, meron kang research paper, definitely hindi mo isa-cite yung Wikipedia. Pupuntahan mo yung primary source doon sa baba at yun ang babasahin mo thoroughly kung tama ba, nag-fit ba to doon sa sinabi ni Wikipedia at iyon ang isa-cite natin. Ang problema kasi doon ngayon sa iniisip natin, nagkakaroon ng parang napapasok. Wikipedia kasi ang tinignan. Ngayon, pag ganun yung attitude natin, Wikipedia is actually an open source na pinaghirapan ng maraming tao, libre sa lahat. At katulad nga ng nasabi mo kanina, ito ang pinupuntahan ng mga estudyante. So anong kailangan natin gawin? Kailangan nating paigtingin ang pagbantay sa content dito. Katulad ng nasabi ng Memo na totoo yon, ito na ang pinapasok ngayon ng trolls. Kasi nakikita nila na ang content ng mga bata sa pagsagot sa mga assignment, sa research, sa klase, kinukuha sa Wikipedia. So pinapasukan na nila to ng mga information na distorted. So tayo, meron kayo ditong 271 participants. Imagine niyo kung bawat isa sa inyo maging active editor ng Wikipedia. Imagine niyo yung magiging contribution natin ito sa truth. So again, bukod dun sa sinagot ko, I would like to pose a challenge to everyone. Tingnan ninyo ang proseso ng Wikipedia. Baka mainteresado rin kayo maging wiki editor. So, yun lang, Mark. I hope it answered your question.
Thank you, ma'am.
Ma'am Mona, may nabanggit po kayo kanina about the younger generations having to take the responsibility to actually teach some of the older generations. And there's actually a question here from an anonymous attendee. Here she says, I've heard students complain about their parents and relatives believing everything they see on social media. Veering away from Gen Z, how can we start a conversation with the older generations about fake news?
Very carefully. Especially since ang kailangan nating kausapin minsan sa bahay ay magulang natin, ay tito-tita natin, di ba? So kailangan talaga, very respectfully, we have to start having conversations on ano po ang source niyan? Ay, sino ba nagsabi niyan? I think there is what do I call it? Elegante. There's an elegant way to have conversations around the truth and social media with people who have little experience or little knowledge on it. Wag niyo sila agad insultuhin na parang, "Mommy, Daddy, ano ba yan? Ba't yung pinaniniwalaan? Napag-gullible niyo, budol-budol yan." Instead of ganon, talaga kailangan suwabe ang pagkakausap natin sa mga mas nakatatanda na hindi talaga maniniwala sa totoo. And I say this because I have experience in it. I'm older, pero I still have titos and titas who believe in fake news. And especially nung eleksyon, talagang sabi ko, huwag niyo muna ako follow sa social media kasi baka ma-hurt kayo. Sinabihan ko sila ganon. Sabi ko, magkita-kita na lang tayo sa Hunyo pagkatapos na ng eleksyon. Kasi talagang hindi magre-reconcile ang aming perspective. And I don't know, ako lang yun baka mas matapang kayo, pero ako kasi parang I put so much value and so much premium on my relationships with my elders. Kaya talagang kapag may panahon na lang tayong umupo at mag-usap-usap ng matagal, tsaka natin i-thresh out yan. Pero ngayon, kung social media lang, at magte-text lang tayo or mahirap to have that conversation kapag hindi kayo face to face. So ganun, yun yung aking experience at yun ang aking advice sa mga iba, di ba? Na yes, kailangan niyo silang turuan, be kind, at the very end you have to sometimes weigh what is more important for you. Gusto niyo ba na tama kayo or gusto niyo ba na ma-protect yung relationship ninyo with your family.
I think that was very sound advice, and I'll be implementing that the next time a discussion arises next gathering namin. Maraming salamat po, Ma'am Mona. Dr. Serrana, baka may dadagdag po kayo sa sagot ni Ma'am Mona.
Nag-agree ako doon sa lahat ng sinabi ng Mona.
Opo. Okay, so proceeding to our next question, siguro partner, we can read one of the questions here sa ating Q&A panel, or if there are questions from our leadership team, but let's start with our panel since napakadami talagang questions natin dito. Our attendees sure are very enthusiastic about this engagement. We have a question, another from anonymous attendee. They say, how can we handle those arguments, especially from the older generations, regarding fact check vis-a-vis personal experience sa buhay nila? So, yung example na buhay na kami nung panahon na yon, or hindi na ninyo naranasan yan.
Yes, may I respond to that first? I think that's classic gaslighting. Meron pong mga logical fallacies na ine-employ ng mga taong pause sa sa argumentative skills, and that is classic gaslighting. Even sa akin ginagawa yan na when I talk about EDSA revolution, sasabihin nila, oh, buhay ka na ba noon? Sa totoo lang, oo naman, college na ako noon, ano. Pero, di ba, hindi mo alam kung magagalit ka o ma-flatter ka dahil, uy, mukha daw akong bata. Anyway, so I think that we have to be aware of the argumentation techniques that people who are trying to diminish the value of history use. Isa yan yung mga, oh, buhay ka na ba noon? Alam naman natin na kahit hindi na tayo buhay, pwede natin pag-aralan yun kung nagko-consult tayo sa mga tamang resources, kung gumagamit tayo ng tamang methodology para i-analyze yung situation. Ano. Marami pa yan, hindi lang yan yung mga nagsasabi na history is like chismis or history is written by the victors. Marami silang mga techniques na ginagamit to diminish the value of history and the way that it has been written. So siguro as warriors in the fight against misinformation, disinformation, historical distortion, kailangan meron na tayong mga ready answers niyan. And ako, for this particular question, ang sinasabi ko, hindi naman po kailangan na buhay ka para magsalita or magturo tungkol sa revolusyon. Kasi ang daming mga magagaling at magagandang pag-aaral doon sa panahon na yon. Hindi ho tayo kailangan mag-time travel para makwento at mabigyang hustisya yung pagtuturo ng panahon na yon. So ganun. And yon, hindi nila ako mag-gaslight, hindi ko mapayagan.
Yes, the fantastic po. O nga, no, gaslighting din nga ang medyo ganong argumento, no. And sometimes, or often, it's not very relevant to a discussion. Anyway, we have time for one last question, and here's a good one from another anonymous attendee. As a university student, I noticed that despite the constant reminders to rely on valid and reliable sources that are available and accessible online, students, including myself, still encounter not so factual sources, sometimes with the on-surface information alone. But because they seem credible enough, we opt to refer to such sources to support our works, especially when there are struggles in finding credible sources, lalo no pag restricted ang access, like in journal sites. With that being said, would it be possible and would it be a good action for educators to administer activities and requirements in which they have limited scope of sources to be referred to and cited, i.e. providing a specific list of articles and resources which students are to use, giving access to journal sites and limiting references to provide modules, links, and files. Dr. Serrano, maybe you could answer this question po.
Yeah. So, sorry ha, baka ma-hurt yung nagtanong dito sa akin. As a university student, it's actually your obligation. Sorry to put this bluntly. There's really no shortcut to it. There are excuses, di ba? Wala kaming access sa journal, wala kaming access sa ganito. But honestly, there are very good open educational resources, and I know this because I'm an advocate of OERs. So, ang dami pong materials with Creative Commons licenses. And we cannot say na wala. And another thing is, universities, I don't know kung saang universities yan, they are really putting resources into buying journals. So I think what you can do is ask your librarian kung ano yung access ninyo sa mga electronic databases. I know they have good ones. Kasi ito ang naging takbo ng usapan ngayong pandemic. Talagang nag-invest ang universities, and kung if you're from an SUC, nagbigay ng pondo ang gobyerno para mag-purchase ng mga online databases. So I'm sorry to say this, pero to put it bluntly, there's no shortcut dun sa sinabi kong you have to find a credible resource. Hindi pwedeng ito lang kasi ang nahanap namin, on the surface they look good. Pag ganun lahat ng ating argument, imagine kung ilan kayong ganyan ng argument kasi they look good on the onset. Ito isang tip lang kasi as a university student, kung freshman ka pa o kaya gagamitin mo pa to sa succeeding years mo, baka magma-masters ka pa. Mag-compile ka na ng mga resources and references. So if they are downloadable, i-download mo na siya, ilagay mo na sa drive mo. Magawa ka ng Google Docs with all the links ng mga pwede mong puntahan. Kasi these are the resources that you will use forever. Ang ibig ko bang sabihin, kailangan nating maging masipag sa paghahanap ng magagandang resources. I really do not condone students nor lalo na yung teachers na magsasabi na walang magandang resource out there because that is not true. UNESCO, there's a global advocacy and open education movement, and we are really advocating for open educational resources, and these are very good sources. Hindi ito dahil libre na dilute na yung fact. Hindi po yan totoo. What you need to do is really do a research. Meron tayong tinatawag na Creative Commons license. These are licensed freely. You can freely use them as long as you attribute the source. So hindi rason actually na wala kaming access sa journal kasi merong libre. So yun ang masasagot ko. Sorry kung medyo blunt ang pagsagot ko, pero as a teacher, hindi talaga siya acceptable to, cut short yung proseso.
And may I also agree with Ma'am Joanne there. Ako po kasi I'm a genealogist. So ang basis ko are primary records, as in vital information, birth certificate, death certificate, marriage certificate. And when people tell me that wala talaga silang access nun, pwede mo silang paniwalaan kasi talagang hindi naman lahat merong access nun. Pero hindi lang yun yung source. Sabi nga ni Ma'am Joanne, kailangan meron kang a little bit of dapat meron kang diskarte para mahanap yung tamang information. And it is the same for research that requires primary information. Ang masakit minsan is kapag palagi nilang hinihingi yung online. Kasi hindi naman po lahat ng knowledge sa mundo ay online. I think we also have to learn to explore libraries. We have to learn to explore repositories, especially in historical research, yung mga nagmamasters, yung mga nagtithesis around these themes. Hindi po lahat online. Kailangan as teachers and as students in this field, matuto tayo na hanap at dumiskarte kung saan yung record. And to add to Miss Joanne's point, kumbaga dapat may listahan ka na ng mga potential repositories of information. Hindi lang sa National Archives, hindi lang sa Philippine Statistical Authority. Merong mga maliliit na libraries, may mga pocket libraries na nandun yung say collection of a certain famous person doon naka-store. So it is all about diskarte, and it is all about being open to finding and discovering those new sites. Yung question kanina was about pwede bang ma-restrict yung options kung saan kukunin yung information. I think that is a disservice. When you say na okay, ito lang yung pwede nyong puntahan. Disservice yun kasi mas marami, hindi naman lahat ng information sa buong mundo nandun. Kailangan you have to have that freedom to open your doors to other sources. Posibleng ibang language, posibleng hindi English, posibleng Spanish, posibleng Chinese. Diba? Hindi natin pwede sabihin yung kaya nating basahin ay yun na yun.
Opo. Sabi nga po ni Sir Mark Madrona, na ang galing po na you're reinforcing each other dito po sa mga sagot niyo sa Q&A natin ngayon. And it's very nice to see such a wonderful flow of engagements. But partner, it looks like we've run out of time dito sa ating question and answer portion, and we're very sorry that that was the last question for this part of our event. And Ma'am Mona and to Dr. John Serrano, we would like to give both of you such a resounding and appreciative applause for your expertise and sharing with us such wonderful information and your fantastic insights. And to our dearest speakers, we would like to express that our sincerest gratitude for attending our conference. And also within the next 2 to 3 days, we will be sending our certificates of appreciation and some humble gifts through your email addresses. So again, thank you very much for gracing our event. Partner, is there anything you would like to add?
So far, thank you po sa mga non-speakers, but I don't have anything to add as of the moment. And I think so we shall now proceed to the second part of our conference.
Yes. Sana po talaga, no, next time maybe we can get together again soon and have a part 2 ng discussion natin, partner, no?
True. I agree with that.
Magpa-picture muna tayo with Dr. Serrano and Ma'am Mona para for gracing us in this wonderful event.
Yes, before we proceed to our next event, let's have a picture-taking photo op muna tayo. Once in a lifetime, we're making history in our first national conference, no? So let's put ourselves dito sa gallery view, and so siguro tech director na lang po natin ang mag-picture or kung print screen na natin, no?
Pero I think you have to stop.
Can we remove the share screen?
I agree. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, let's smile for the camera. 1, 2, 3, smile. Yan. Isa pa. 1, 2, 3, smile. Wonderful. Maraming salamat po muli from the leadership team of the High School Philippine History Movement. We extend our most sincere appreciation to Mighty Magulang Ma'am Mona Magnovelus and to Dr. Joan Serrano, PhD from the UP Open University. Thank you very much for gracing our fantastic event.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Mamana.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, as we proceed to our to part 2 of our event, we will be having our General Assembly, a second part of our conference, will be the third General Assembly of the High School Philippine History Movement. So the movement will be giving its report on how it has pursued its advocacy in calling for a dedicated Philippine history subject in the high school curriculum, while pursuing and pushing for truthful Philippine history in the classroom, social media, and the public sphere.
Let us now listen to the advocacy report of the professional officers of the High School Philippine History Movement. Dearest officers, please go right ahead.
All right, I believe that is my cue. Okay, wait lang. Pasensya na po. Mas sanay ako sa Google Meet. I'm having difficulties right now. Anyway, again, I would like to thank everybody for attending our conference for today. I would like to again personally thank our speakers for attending. Now we shall proceed to our report. Now, simulan po natin ang report ng leadership team patungkol sa aming advocacy. Dito po papasok ang pangalawang bahagi ng aming conference. Nabanggit nga kanina, isinusulong natin ang kasaysayan ng Pilipinas hindi lamang sa classroom, kundi sa cyberspace at sa public space as well. Tema po yan ng ating conference ngayon. Ngunit, mahihirapan po tayo kung mismo sa classroom, wala pong espasyo para sa diskusyon nito sa high school. Nabanggit kanina na pinagdinilayan ng DepEd na ibalik yung dedicated subject ng Philippine History sa high school. And there's a possibility na maibalik siya. Hindi natin yung magagawa kung wala yung pressure mula sa mga teachers, sa mga students, etc. In fact, may mga batas na naihain sa Kongreso patungkol dito. At mamaya-maya, lalabas po yon sa ating pag-uulat. Sa ngayon, simulan ko po ang reporting sa background and context. Philippine history in the high school curriculum. Ilan dito nabanggit na rin po sa video. Simulan po namin, sino ba muna kami? Formerly, we were known as the Ibalik ang Philippine History sa High School Movement. Nagbago lang yung pangalan namin dahil masyadong mahaba yung unang pangalan. We recently rebranded as the High School Philippine History Movement. At kami po ay isang non-partisan independent movement of teachers, students, and professionals na nagsusulong ng pagbabalik ng Philippine history bilang isang dedicated subject sa high school araling palipunan. So we are Philippine history advocates. Okay? Kami ay nagsusulong kami ng reforma sa level ng edukasyon dahil kami mga guro at yung ilan dito mga estudyante na dumaan sa K-12 ay saksi sa curriculum. Hindi natin sinasabing palpak yung K-12. May mga strength siya, unfortunately may mga weaknesses din siya. At para sa amin, ang isang weakness ng K-12 curriculum ay may kakulangan sa pagiging Philippine-centric o pagpupukaw ng national consciousness at critical thinking sa level ng high school, particularly sa larangan ng Philippine history o kasaysayan ng Pilipinas. We are a non-partisan movement. Ayaw namin, bagamat sinusulong namin ang katotohanan sa kasaysayan, upang maisulong ang aming adikain, lahat po kinakausap namin. Basta maisulong ang katotohanan, maisulong ang reforma, maibalik ang kasaysayan ng Pilipinas sa high school. So yun po ang general descriptor ng aming movement. Yun ang general description ng aming advocacy. Yun po ang general description ng aming movement. So we're for a Philippine history subject in the high school level, a dedicated Philippine history subject in the high school level. But at the same time, we're not just for that. Nagsusulong din kami ng makatotohanan, truthful Philippine history in the public space tulad ng social media or sa mga diskusyong pampubliko tulad nitong conference na to. Ngayon, patungkol po sa reformang K-12, magte-take over po dito ay Sir Mark. Sir Mark?
Ayan. Hello sir, good afternoon po and to all participants ng conference namin ngayong araw. Thank you for being here. And ito po nung na-assign po na i-discuss ko ng very briefly this afternoon ay ano bang nangyari no, since K+12 started. So as you can remember, itong K+12 it was implemented, it was passed no 2013 during the time of the late former President Benigno Aquino III. And then from there, yung dating sistema na 6 na taon sa elementary, 4 na taon sa high school, and then aabante sa college, nagbago yan. So that yung grade 1 to 6 na retain, pero yung high school, it has been relabeled to grade 7 to grade 10, and then with the addition of senior high school, grade 11 and grade 12. So under the leadership of then Department of Education Secretary Armin Luistro, ito na, no, nilabas yung Department Order 2020 series of 2014 kung saan yung nangyari ang Philippine history, it was removed as a dedicated subject at the high school level. So, sige, next slide. Yan. So siguro kung naaalala natin, no, at the high school, focus na lang tayo sa high school level, nung makaka-relate dito yung generation ko from 1990s and 2000s, first year, di ba, first year Philippine history, second year Asian history, third year world history, tapos fourth year yung economics. No, but with K+2, with the integration of K+12, no, starting 2014 nabago na yan, no, and as it is now, yung grade 7 natin araling Asyano na, grade 8 yung grade 8 world history, grade 9 yung economics, and then yung grade 10, ito na yung tinatawag na subject, yung ating contemporary issues, no, mga contemporaryong issue at among panlipunan. So next slide. As it is right now, ang makikita ninyo, no, ito na, kailan na lang nakakaroon ng pagkakataon yung ating mga estudyante na magkaroon ng dedicated Philippine history subject? Well, you have to look back as late as grade 5, no, grade 5 or grade 6 at the elementary level. So throughout high school, walang dedicated subject to Philippine history from grade 7 to grade 10 and up until senior high school, no, wala din, grade 11, grade 12. Although yung kinakatwiran ng Department of Education, no, for which we have a respectful disagreement, sinasabi nila na integrated naman daw yung Philippine history content to particular subject areas every now and then, no, but ang advocacy kasi namin, no, ay magkaroon ng dedicated history subject na kailan lang ulit nakakaroon ng pagkakataon yung mga estudyante na magkaroon nito. Kung throughout high school ay wala, well, college na makakaroon, and the chances are hindi naman to posibleng usually first year, no, but it's not a guarantee na first year college tinuturo, no, it can be offered much later into the college curriculum. So we are looking at a history knowledge gap of how many years? No, 6 years, 7 years, or even longer at that. Yun pa. So I'll turn it over now to the next speaker.
So ako po muli, bilang paglalagom dun sa nabanggit, as a summary of what was mentioned earlier, our organization personally believe that DepEd Order 2020-14 is a policy mistake. We respectfully but strongly disagree with DepEd on this specific regard. We firmly believe that there is a necessity for a dedicated Philippine history subject in the Aralin Panlipunan curriculum for 1 grade level in the secondary level, especially if it is designed as a critical thinking course, at tulad na banggit nila Mona at ni Ma'am Joanne kanina, a course that is designed less about memorization and more about critical thinking, lalo't lalo na ang dami mga issues na pumapasok na may kinalaman sa disinformation. There are a lot of studies that have come out recently, like last year from researchers Alik and Buwal. One finding that they found, some K-12 graduates na nagka-college na during the year 2021, karamihan sa kanila nagkakahirapan or they're having a hard time with their prior knowledge in Philippine history doon sa college course na readings in Philippine history. And they found one primary reason for that is wala silang support with regards to their Philippine history subjects. Kasi ang last time na napag-aralan nila yung Philippine history, itong mga college students na to, ay elementary. Kasi if you're gonna recall the layout earlier, 6 na taon yung talon. Grade 4, 4 years in junior high school, 2 years in senior high school, you don't talk about Philippine history as a dedicated course. Ang babanggitin, may papikshi-pikshing Philippine history na binabanggit sa Asian history or world history. Okay, acknowledge, but is that enough? According to that research and other research regarding to disinformation, Philippine history can perhaps lessen that problem so that Philippine history courses in college can focus more on their core competence, training in core competencies. Kasi ang nangyayari sa college level, and some of the college instructors who are teaching in readings and Philippine history can attest to this, yung iba sa kanila, they allot a portion of their time to remedial for basic Philippine history, which shouldn't be. So, yun po yung isang problem na nakikita. Kakibat pa dito yung problema ng disinformation na mamaya-maya marirelease later on. In fact, ito po yung next slide. Ang next presenter po ay si Sir June. Sir June?
Na mahalaga na ang tungkulin natin hindi lang para sa actual o yung pagbabahagi sa paaralan, kundi maging sa virtual. Ngayon, alam natin lahat na tayo ay nasa panahon ng social media. So, ibig sabihin, dahil nasa panahon tayo ng makabagong teknolohiya, kasama sa buhay natin ang social media. In fact, dito natin nalalaman kung ano yung mga buhay ng ibang tao. Nagkakaroon tayo ng komunikasyon sa ibang tao. At the same time, even dito na rin natin nalalaman kung ano yung balita na nagaganap sa ating lipunan. Ngayon, dahil bahagi ito ng ating buhay pang-araw-araw, nakalulungkot isipin na ang social media din ay mayroon ding kinaharap na pagsubok. Kasama na dito yung tinatawag na maling impormasyon or disinformation. At ito rin ang napansin o naobserbahan namin bilang isa sa mga epekto ng pagkakaroon ng pag-alis bilang stand-alone subject ng Philippine history sa curriculum ng high school. Next slide po. Now, kung mapapansin ninyo, alam ko aware kayo dito, gaya ng nabanggit kanina sa video na may in-interview na mga random person at yung mga sagot nila is nakalulungkot pero yun yung realidad. Even sa social media, ganun din ang makikita natin. Now, kung mapapansin natin, may mga instance na alam ko, narinig nyo na ito yung tungkol kay Jose Rizal. Gamit na mga trivia, pero mali naman yung basis or walang reliable sources na si Jose Rizal daw ay isang kamag-anak ni Adolf Hitler or ni Jack the Ripper, so on and so forth. At ang nakalulungkot pang isipin na pag dumarating ang December 30, alam natin na yun ay isang Rizal Day, yung pagbabayani o yung martyrdom ni Jose Rizal. Imbes na pag nilay-nilaya, meron din nagko-comment na bumabate ng kanyang kaarawan which is sa June 19 din. So, next slide po. Ito. Very typical ito. Siguro sa ating ngayon, meron nang nakapanood nung tungkol kay General Luna at nakikita natin si Apolinario Mabini. At eto, mind you, kahit ako nabasa ko ito personally sa social media, may nagtatanong kung bakit nakaupo si Apolinario Mabini rather. So ito yung mga instances na nakakatawa in the first place pero at the same time nakalulungkot at very alarming. Kasi pinapakita nito kung ano yung standard ng kaalaman ng general public, most especially yung kabataan regarding sa kasaysayan ng ating bansa. Next slide po. In fact, according sa isang study, malaking posibilidad na ang kabataan ang pinaka at risk pagdating sa disinformation sa social media. At ito ay lubhang nakaka-alarma dahil kapag na-feed or kapag napunta sa atin or kapag nalaman natin yung mga impormasyon na walang batayan or mali ang pinagbulan, may possibility talaga na magkaroon ng conflict as to the yung identity ng ating bansa vis-a-vis sa history natin. In fact, sa kasalukuyan, dalawa ang ating masasabi nating kalaban. Ang una is yung human instinct or yung nature ng pagiging makakalimutin. That's normal. May mga point lang na nakakalimot ang mga tao. Kasi lahat naman tayo, sa dami ng mga information or yung mga experience na naranasan natin, may mga nakakalimutan talaga. Pero ang pangalawa ang nakakabahala at dapat nating at may kakayahan tayo na pigilan, which is yung disinformation. Dahil dito sa disinformation, lalo na kung personal or may sariling agenda or merong sariling let's say propaganda, may instance talaga na kaya nilang i-lead yung mga tao or idaan o dalhin yung mga tao sa kanilang pansariling interes. Next slide po. Kaya naman, alam ko sa lahat ng participants ngayon dito, dapat alam natin kung ano yung pinagkaiba ng historical revisionism vis-a-vis sa historical distortion. Kasi madalas nga natin ito nakikita sa online, no? Although maganda naman ang intention natin na tayo ay against sa pagbabago ng history, pero kailangan nating malaman yung pinagkaiba ng dalawa. Dahil may mga instance na nag-update, no, ng mga bagong information or bagong studies sa history at ito ay kinokorek. At ang tawag doon ay historical revisionism. Like for example, yung about sa Code of Kalantiao. Sa mahaba-habang panahon, alam ng nakararami na nag-e-exist di umano ang Code of Kalantiao. But until dun sa dissertation ni Dr. Henry Scott, at doon napatunayan na hindi pala totoo o huwad ang Code of Kalantiao. In fact, dumating sa point na ang Kalantiao Award ay binibigay sa mga members of the judiciary, even the justices of the Supreme Court doon. Not until noong 2004 lang na mismong ang Pangulo ng Pilipinas na ang nagsabi na itigil na ang ganitoong uri ng code dahil nga sa hindi totoo ang basis nito. At gayon din, I believe meron na rin nailabas na resolution ng NHI o ang National Historical Institute din ng NHCP regarding dito sa Code of Kalantiao. Ngayon, ang pinagkaiba niyan sa revisionism is nag-upgrade or nag-update tayo ng mas maayos or mas maayos ng information regarding sa history vis-a-vis sa historical distortion na kung saan isa itong uri ng disinformasyon na kung saan ang intention niya talaga ay either makasarili o pansarili or manira ng ibang tao, which is very dangerous and hindi dapat ito tularan. At ito dapat nating nilalabanan. Now, bakit social media ang isa sa mga focus ng high school Philippine Historical Movement? Dahil ang mga kabataan ngayon, even yung mga older generations ay engage sa social media. In particular, ang based sa studies, mas focus ang mga kabataan sa social media such as Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, even TikTok at saka sa Reddit. Ngayon, ang dahil dito, isa rin sa mga layunin din ng High School Philippine History Movement na ituro o ilaan sa pamamagitan ng public history kung ano yung tamang pagbabahagi or yung tamang pagsasaayos ng mga certain topics na may kinalaman sa history natin in the present time. And in a way, of course, ang pinakalayunin natin dito ay kailangan nating ipaglaban kung ano yung katotohanan and especially about sa history ng ating bansa. And with that, proceed na tayo sa next topic.
For the initial updates na ginagawa ng movement, we turn over to Ma'am Sheena, our Secretary General, to give us the initial updates na ginagawa ng High School Philippine History Movement from our end upang isulong ang makatotohanan ng Philippine history, lalo nga ngayon laganap ang disinformation sa social media. Ma'am?
Alright, so let me share you the updates of our movement. Okay, so for our tentative proposal, so we propose to have basic Philippine history in elementary, so per level siya. And then when it comes to junior high school, we have junior high school Philippine history from grade 1 level in junior high school. And then right after that, so pagdating naman sa senior high school, we have the Senior High School Philippine History from, ayan, and then during your college, we have the Advanced Philippine History or the GE course. Kasi there are times na merong kulang when it comes to even sa college. Yan. So halimbawa, yung readings in Philippine history, so selected readings lang siya. So ang tentative proposal namin is yun, madagdagan yung iba't ibang mga babasahin regarding Philippine history. Next po. Okay. Another thing is the update when it comes to our ideal subject. So when it comes to history, which is not as a listing of memorization course, but as a critical thinking course. Another thing is that we have to update when it comes to existing narratives. Examples are Philippine Revolution, contemporary history, and many more. Another thing is that we have to focus on local history. Kasi kulang na kulang tayo when it comes to our local history, di ba? Yung ano nga ba yung history nung ano natin, bayan natin. So, kailangan ano pa yung knowledge natin regarding local history. We also have pre-colonial history. So, kailangan pagyamanin natin yung knowledge natin when it comes to a history of our barangays, di ba? Yung mga sultanates. Another thing is the moral history, the indigenous history, and last is the human rights in contemporary history. Next po is about lobbying.
The report for the lobbying will be given to our Executive Vice President, Sir Joey De La Cruz. Sir Joey.
Sorry, nag-tech. Hello, good afternoon. We are now going to discuss about our congressional lobbying, both in the administration and opposition leaders in Congress. One thing that we are trying to make as a policy would be we're non-partisan as an institution, but definitely our non-partisanship does not in any way affect our advocacy. So malaking bagay po yung pagkakaiba ng partisan politics at nung mismong galaw ng advocacy ng movement. Please, next slide, please. So, on the side of the Makabayan bloc, there is a push to mandate the inclusion of Philippine history curriculum as a subject in the whole high school framework of DepEd. So, from the previous Congress, talagang sinusulong na nila ito, and we had a dialogue already with former Kabataan Party List Representative Sara Elago on the matter, which umabot sa committee level at tinatry na integrate sa isa pang bill na para sa World War II heroes na pinasa naman ng chair noon ng Basic Education Committee ng House of Representatives. Unfortunately, nung nakaraang Congress, umabot lamang ito sa level ng second reading at hindi na mag-move forward. At ngayon, pinupush forward ulit ng Makabayan Bloc yung kanilang advocacy in terms of pushing forward the history subject as part of the high school curriculum. Next slide po. On the side of the administration, si Senator Robin Padilla ang naging primary initiator nito sa Senado. At ang kanyang background on the matter is to push forward yung kaalaman, especially sa usapin ng ating mga bayani. And in his track record naman as an artist, he actually advocated for Andres Bonifacio nung siyang gumanap mismo bilang Andres Bonifacio sa kanyang doon sa pelikula na pinroduce way before General Luna. So, nakikita naman natin na yung intent and the structure of the laws that are being passed by both parties both opposition and administration, are devoid of the so-called political agenda na kinakatakutan ng ibang mga educators. Ang punto rin at pinaka-parcel sa usapin na ito na dun po tayo sa katotohanan lamang. And looking at the structure of the proposed bills, nakikita natin yung kaya natin sinusuportahan yung mga bills na to regardless of their institutional affiliations would be because they are aligned with our principles. Next slide po. So muli, ito po yung aming engagement with Congressman Roman Romulo last Congress regarding doon sa push para magkaroon ng pagbabalik nitong high school history sa usapin ng kasaysayang Pilipino. At kinakailangan talaga po natin na magsama-sama para ma-push na yung pagbabalik nito. Yung challenges na kinakaharap po natin dito would be yung itinatawag nating game of numbers. Ito lagi yung challenge dito. Pero makikita po natin na kung tayo po sa iba't ibang mga sektor, hindi lamang sa usapin ng sektor ng edukasyon, tayong mga kabataan, tayong mga profesional, tayong mga nagmamahal sa ating bansa, ay magbubuklod-buklod, ay may babalik po natin yung diwa't esensya nung kasaysayan na hinahanap natin. Ito yung pag-aaral ng kasaysayan para maintindihan natin at maiturol yung ating pagka-Pilipino. Ibinabalik ko na po yung aking diskurso sa ating chairperson at presidente para po sa kanyang final words po.
Maraming salamat, sir. Wait lang. Para naman doon sa ilang mga updates sa mga partnerships ng movement, mga projects, i-turn over ko po kay Sir Kevin Samson.
Maraming salamat po, Ginoong Ignacio. Para naman po sa ating mga partnerships, ang ating pong kilusan ay nagkaroon ng partnership with Mega World Chinatown Museum para sa ating collections webinar, sa BDCP Designers and Creatives Philippines Incorporated for our National Campus Press Olympiad, sa ating NBS College for their NSTP Nationalism and Citizenship webinar, sa klase ni Sir Danilo's sa Class TV ni Sir Danilo about History Month webinar series, sa University of the Philippines Baguio Kamalayan para sa kanilang Kilatis webinar series. Meron din po tayong mga partnerships na nabuo with the Polytechnic University of the Philippines, samahan ng mga mag-aaral ng kasaysayan sa kanilang Talasaysayan PUP SMK Lecture Series. Meron din tayong partnership with UP Ed Circle's ACLE 2022 partnership, ML Tayo, Never Again, the Teaching of Martial Law in Philippine Schools. Tayo rin po ay dumalo sa Rappler's Facts First PH itong 2022 at kasama rin sa ating mga naging partners ay ang UPM Senior High School Tarlac First Student Assembly 2022. Ilan din sa ating mga engagement is one with Sub-Selfie. Meron tayong isang post dito about Philippine history for social media by Jen Robert Planza. Nagkaroon din po tayo ng mga webinars and seminars together with experts in the field. At correction lang po dun sa isang partnership, hindi siya senior high school, it's UP Manila School of Health Sciences, sorry, Tarlac First Student Assembly 2022. Thank you very much. At meron din po tayong webinar on pagboto, halalan at demokrasya sa mata ng kabataang Pilipino. Meron din tayong change.org petition, okay, na meron ng 63,000 or around 64,000 na pirma. So sana tayo ay makapag-hikayat pa ng ibang mga tao para tayo makaabot sa 75,000 signatures. Ang ating High School Philippine History Movement Facebook page ay meron ng 28,000 followers. So sana tayo ay makainganyo pa ng iba pang mga followers para nagdagan ang ating presensya sa social media. And as of August 27, meron na po tayong 4.9 million engagement with Filipinos. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kevin Sampson. Last part of the professional report of our movement ay ang treasury report from our organization treasurer, Ma'am Ana Eraga. Wala po siya ngayon, pero may hinanda siyang recorded video para sa kanyang pag-uulat.
Magandang hapon po sa lahat. Ako po si Binibining Ana Cristina A. Eraga, ang ingat yaman ng High School Philippine History Movement. Narito po ako upang iulat ang lagay ng ating kaban para sa taon po na ito. So, mula po sa nakaraang taon, meron po tayong beginning balance na 15,640. At nais ko lang pong sabihin na noong February, nakalikom po tayo ng 2,000. Noong March naman, tayo ay nakalikom ng 1,000. Noong April ay 2,200. Itong May ay 400. Noong July ay 1,279. Ito pong August ay 1,800. Itong Setyembre, 800. Oktubre, 800. At nito pong November, tayo po ay nakalikom ng 11,985. Sa kasalukuyan po, meron po tayong total net income na 37,904 para po sa ating organisasyon. Maraming salamat po at mabuhay po tayong lahat.
Thank you po, Ma'am Ana, sa inyong pag-uulat. So yun lang po ang mga nagawa namin nitong mga nakalipas na 1 hanggang 2 taon, year 2021 to 2022. At tulad ng mga narinig natin kanina kina Ma'am Joanne, kina Ma'am Mona, kay Mighty Magulang, napakahalaga ng critical thinking ngayon, lalo't-lalo na iba't iba na ang kalagayan ng social media ngayon. At isa sa mga nakakalungkot na nakakaranas ng pananarget ng disinformation ay ang kasaysayan ng Pilipinas. Alam natin na malaking maitutulong ng pagtuturo ng Philippine history, ng dedicated subject ng Philippine history sa high school. May ilang pananaliksik na nagsasabi maaari maging magandang instrumento to upang malabanan ng disinformasyon. Sana matulungan niyo po kami. Miyembro man kayo o hindi, mga observers lang po kayo, okay lang. Sana ipaglaban po natin to kasi kapag mali-mali na ang naalala natin, nakakalimutan natin or mali ang naalala natin, baka magka-problema tayo. Hindi natin matugunan ang mga solusyon. Hindi natin makuha ang mga totoong mga aral mula sa ating nakaraan. Tandaan natin ang isang napakagandang salawikain o popular Tagalog proverb, ang hindi marunong lumingon sa pinanggalingan ay hindi makararating sa paroroonan. Kaya kami sa High School Philippine History Movement, kaya namin to ginagawa upang may sulong ang Philippine History sa high school at may sulong ang makatotohanang kasaysayan sa pampublikong espasyo. Social media man o sa open public discourse tulad nitong conference na to. Kaya sa amin, ibalik ang Philippine History sa high school. Maraming salamat.
Maraming salamat po sa ating mga youth officers and to the whole leadership team of the High School Philippine History Movement. And at this juncture, we would like to proceed with the youth officers naman po of the DEAR movement. So we will also be presenting an advocacy report on behalf of the youth wing.
So most of our initiatives are discussed now with same with the professional officers. So we will discuss some of yung mga action plan na nagawa ng past officers. Some of it are the Youth General Assembly, 500 Years of Christianity, Kababaihan at Kasaysayan, Women's Month Celebration. Wait lang po. Naghahang yung share screen. Stop. I'll discuss it na lang without sharing since naghahang po. Some of it are the informational video about the movement, significant youth figures in history, pedagogical effects of removing Philippine history, Flag Days and Independence Day, Talinong Pinoy History Month Celebration, Philippine Pedagogical History, Cultura Serie, Andres Bonifacio and the Katipunan, Christmas and Rizal Day, Bayani Serie and Chismis ng Bayan for the past officer. And currently, meron po kaming naganap na committee application last time. Then, if meron nag-apply sa inyo for it, we will be having our interview soon. So, please stay updated on your emails. Then, after that, if kulang pa kami sa officers, we'll be having a second batch for the youth committee application. So, that's it po for all things. That's it for the youth report for our youth report. So, and I think we shall now proceed to the question and answer portion of this part of our conference. We shall be getting some questions from the Q&A chat box. We will be reading them out loud. If you have questions about our advocacy plans or programs, please do not hesitate to put them in the Q&A chat box. Note, please moderate questions only and pick question.
Yeah. There were questions here, partner, na addressed to our speakers kanina, but I think pwede rin masagot ng ating leadership team itong mga tanong na ito, no? And again, for our attendees, kung may mga questions po kayo, feel free to just drop them in the Q&A panel at dito rin po sa ating chat box. Any queries or mga tanong na gusto nyong ibahagi or iparating sa ating leadership team, this is your opportunity po. And actually, there's a question here regarding the evaluation form. Hindi daw po siya member, but may we do the evaluation now? Paano po ba yung gagawin natin dyan for those who are not members of our
we'll send all evaluation later, Al.
Okay, I see.
After the end of the session.
Okay, thank you po. And so for the other questions, there's a question here. As a teacher of readings in Philippine history, I would like to know how would the advanced Philippine history be different? So siguro yan yung ano natin, no, proposed na advanced Philippine history. How would this be different?
You have to realize when our focus is on secondary level. When we say advanced Philippine history, earlier, we're referring to readings in Philippine history. That was already mentioned. Kumbaga, ang sinasabi lang natin doon, yung advanced Philippine history course na gusto natin mangyari, yung readings Philippine history, updated lang kanyang resources. But for our movement, we're more focused on the high school level. So, walang Philippine history sa high school. Kaya ang ating focus ay magkaroon ng kurso or subject sa high school kung saan nakadesenyo siya in such a way, nakaugnay siya sa readings and Philippine history at mas natutok dun sa yung kurso niya, magiging advanced level yung kanyang pagtuturo. So ang punto doon, medyo may misnomer, nilagay lang yung word na advanced Philippine history, which we're actually saying meron na. meron ng Philippine history sa college level na pang-advance, which is reading is in Philippine history. Yun nga lang, nagkakaproblema dun sa level na yun kasi may kakulangan sa skills yung mga batang pumupunta doon. Dahil yun na nga, yung last time na nakapag-aral sila ay elementary. So what am I saying? Meron na yung advanced na Philippine history, yung readings in Philippine history. Pero based from feedback and based from the research that we've read, nakakaproblema yung advanced Philippine history, aka yung readings in Philippine history sa college kasi may kakulangan sa competency sa secondary level. So, yun lang ang ibig sabihin po.
Okay. Thank you very much for the answer. Partner, there's actually a question here for the presenters earlier, and I think nahapyawan na rin siya dito sa presentation ng ating leadership team. But Mr. Chester Mark Barrios, they ask if Philippine history were to be integrated again in the high school prospectus, what will happen to other topics of araling panlipunan such as Asian history, world history, economics, and contemporary issues? Will Philippine history be subdivided into 4 eras directly relating to the number of years in junior high school, grade 7 pre-Hispanic, grade 8 Spanish-ruled Philippines, grade 9 American and Japanese-ruled Philippines, and grade 10 post-independence Philippines? Actually, this was nahapyawan na siya kanina as mentioned ng ating leadership team. Pero maybe we can elaborate a little bit on our proposed curriculum.
Sige, ako na ulit. In history, yung kasaysayan, sabi nga nila, yung isang punto ng kasaysayan, dapat may saysay siya. Nawawalan ng silbi ang kasaysayan kung ini-information overload natin ng mga bata. Alam na. Kaya yung gusto natin disenyo ng Philippine history ay, although meron pa rin doong critical thinking, meron pa rin doong information. It's more on analyzing and critically reading resources, primary or secondary sources. Kaya gusto natin ng Philippine history sa high school ay doon nagbibinata at nagdadalaga yung ating mga estudyante. And whether we like it or not, we have to be selective on the topics. Ano ba ang gusto natin ilagay doon na ituturo sa kasaysayan? Na on one hand, saklaw niya yung lahat ng topics. On the other hand, hindi siya masyadong information overload, sasabog yung utak ng bata. Kaya mainam or mahalaga dito ang pag-uusap ng mga curriculum planners sa DepEd at ng mga history, ng mga academicians natin sa history. Lalo't lalo na sila ang mga nakakaalam ng content. So there should be a marriage between the content experts and the curriculum planners in such a way na yung disenyo ay yun yung pagbabalanse ng content at saka nung pagpaplano kung ano yung tuturo at papaano siya ituturo. Ngayon, nabanggit kanina, ano yung posibleng masakripisyo? Most likely may masasakripisyo dyan. Base sa mga naririnig ko, ito public, medyo, this is what I've heard from an insider, pero there's a possibility since Asian and world history, mukhang they cover the same area. There's a possibility, although walang final, please don't take my word for it. I'll repeat, don't take my word for it. Pero one discussion on the table, baka emerge yung dalawa at ipasok yung Philippine history. I'll repeat, don't take my word for it dahil ongoing pa yung discussion sa loob kung ano ang magiging mainam na kompromiso upang maipasok yung Philippine history na hindi na isasakripisyo dahil alam natin mahalaga rin naman yung kasaysayan ng daigdig, economics at contemporary issue. Ang tanong, paano babalansin? Kaya mahalaga dyan, nag-usap yung curriculum planners at yung mga content experts. Kasi ang naging gawi dati, especially in the 90s and the early 2000s, hindi nag-uusap yung mga content experts natin at yung ating education planners. Minsan kukontratahin mo yung dalawang yan, pero hindi sila nag-uusap. Ang gagawin ni curriculum planner, o sir ma'am, gawa ka ng libro, tapos ang gagawin nila, ika-copy paste nila yung topics. Hindi nila sasalain kung anong topics ang pwedeng o kakayanin ng bata sa high school level on this time. So hindi lang yung magbibigayan lang kayo ng i-delegate nyo lang yung work. Akong bahala sa content, akong bahala sa pagpapublish, akong bahala sa maglalagay doon sa module. Dapat may active engagement yung dalawa, si DepEd Curriculum Planner at saka si expert, kung paano nila sasalain at ituturo. Alam ko medyo malabo yung or medyo abstract yung sagot ko, pero yun talaga yung pinaka-solusyon dito. Minsan kasi hindi sila nag-uusap eh. Minsan hanggang kontrata lang, aalamin ano yung obligasyon, tapos hindi na sila mag-usap pagkatapos. At yung nakakalungkot, ang side effect niyan, yung lumalabas na libro, yung lumalabas na lesson sa curriculum. And based on our experience, dapat may diskusyon. Laging may komunikasyon sa pagitan ng expert at curriculum plans. Kung hindi, babalik tayo dun sa problema. Actually, nandito pa rin tayo sa problema. Alam ko medyo up there yung sagot, pero yun yung pinakatumbok ng sagot na yun. So thank you po.
Thank you for that, Sir Jamaica. I think it is a question a while ago for our speakers, but I think the leadership team may answer this po. It is a question from Marco Bonal. Mapagpalang araw po. There are instances na ang mga teacher na dapat silang nag-guide sa mga students but there are teachers na mga nag-share ng mga fake news, sumasali sa mga bardagulan sa FB, at nagbibigay ng false claims and biases. Then how students will trust them? What should the students do po? Should we submit and follow, or there is something we can do? Because if students call them out or correct them, sila pa ang mapapasama. Salamat po.
Baka yung iba kong kasamaan ng pwedeng sa mukha.
Actually, ito manggagaling to bilang karanasan. May mga iba't ibang pamamaraan ng pag-call out. Hindi naman kasi, the usual Gen Z way of calling out, i-video si teacher, i-post sa internet, shame mo siya. You get canceled. That's the usual thing. No. Rather, engage in a dialogue with the teacher that you think na nagbibigay ng false information. Kasi pag nagalit siya, ang pinakasagot mo dyan, ma'am, we are in an academic setting. Therefore, we should be able to discern the information. Respectfully mo sasabihin yun. Sadly to say, kailangan may isang side na magbaton or mag-steer ng conversation towards a more conducive environment for dialogue. Kasi pag ginawa itong nasa perspective ng debate, hindi, tama ako. Egos will fly inside the room. For example, pag ang mga teachers, may mga iba sa kanila very sensitive to correction because they think it diminishes their capacity to deliver the subject matter. But for us educators here, we need to understand, hindi tayo absolute in terms of information. We need to understand that ano ang scope ng knowledge natin and open ourselves. For the student, you need to make the instructor or the teacher understand that this is not in any way to malign, to destroy reputation or anything. Kasi pag flexing lang ang usapin dyan, hindi nyo natuturol yung usapin ng katotohanan. Ang usapin kung bakit ka nasa classroom ay hindi mag-flex. Ang usapin na dahil nasa classroom ka ay dahil kailangan nating maintindihan kung ano ba ang totoo. Ang mga tanong usually dyan, gaano ba katotoo yung sinasabi at nabasa sa internet o nabanggit. So, kung sa international school standards, ang tawag dyan, yung mga question na to what extent is the validity of the claim? So, you have to process it. If the teacher cannot do it, the student has to. Sorry to say. Kailangan mag-level off ka. You don't need to put a water cannon against another water cannon. You don't play fire by fire. You need to calm down the situation in order to engage in a dialogue. If in the case that the teacher does not in any way relent to that and still asserts authority just because of ego issues, it's a problem of the teacher. And therefore, breaching ethical standards of teaching. Doon pumapasok na talagang hindi siya there to impart information. Nandun siya para lamang i-assert kung anong gusto niyang paniniwala. Personally speaking, even in my mga students ko na nanonood ngayon, they have experienced it. And it was a challenge to engage on the matter. But then again, the pursuit of truth is always the aim inside the classroom. And the pursuit of, in that sense, the pursuit of truth should be the first agenda and not the egos. So yun yung kailangan yung tandaan. That's the key aspect of the whole process of engaging in a dialogue, especially in an academic setting.
Thank you for that, Sir Joey. I think there is another question from Sir Daniel De Rosario. For the revived HS Philippine history, up to when will be the scope?
Sir, kayo na po yung
Scope meaning yung coverage, scope meaning hanggang kailan gagawin to. Ano pong ibig sabihin?
Maybe Sir can open his mic. Maybe Sir can open his mic and answer and question or type na lang po, Sir.
Siguro kung yung scope, ibig sabihin ay yung paksa. It can be the same topics from from pre-colonial up until the American era. Nasa disenyo yan kung paano ituturo yan. We have courses, although baka sabihin niyo pang abroad to, pero kung nakakayanan ng isang grade 8 American history or grade 11 American history sa United States of America, i-cover independence, yung American independence up until Reagan era, President Reagan era. Mahaba yon, more than around 2 centuries yon. Nagagawa nila ng paraan kasi nung sinisilip ko yung modules nila, FYI nakapunta po ako at nasilip ko po yung mga American history curriculum doon. Hindi siya information overload kasi may mga objectives sila per topic at nakasalalay doon sa objectives nila yung pagtuturo nito. At yung content na nilalagay doon, hindi siya sobrang dami to the point mauuma yung bata. I think that's the point. Kaya again, babalik po ako doon sa nabanggit ko kanina. Kaya kailangan mag-usap si curriculum planner, si expert sa history dahil doon nila masasala ano yung mga importanteng mailalagay doon sa aklat, doon sa module, doon sa lesson, doon sa curriculum. Kaya lang naman kumakapal yan kasi nakakalimutan yung ano dapat yung mahalagang malaman, say for example, ng isang grade 10 student patungkol sa kasaysayan nila. Minsan kasi ang iniisip ng iba, pang college level, isaksak mo na doon sa grade 10. Grade 10 na bata yan, that's around 15 years old. Ibigay mo lang muna natin sa kanila yung makakaya nila at gamitin yon upang hasain, matutula sila sa pagkilala. So the point being is let us be selective with regards to the content. Lay out the topics properly at pwedeng i-layout yung topic from American era or from pre-colonial era to the contemporary history era. Yun nga lang, kailangan maingat, isa-select natin. Ano yun sa mga topics na yun ang dapat ituro. Okay? Ang isa pang tanong doon at isang kakibat na question na sa labas ng advocacy namin pero naniniwalaan ko rin personally. Ewan ko lang doon sa mga kasama. For Araling Panlipunan, akma ba na 3 session lang siya sa isang linggo compared to other subjects na 4 or sometimes in private schools 5 sessions a week? Bakit parang yung ibang mga signatura, mahalaga rin naman, 4 or 5 times a week. Pero yung Araling Panlipunan, tinatatlo lang. So perhaps yung allotment of teaching hours, contact hours, pwede rin i-integrate doon sa pagninilay para mailagong o maituro ng maayos yung topic. So to answer the questions, the coverage can include every topic. The question is, how will you design it in such a way it will be suitable enough for students of that age level? They will understand it. So it's a matter of planning. But that planning would require a lot of work. Ang problema, si teacher at si curriculum partner, minsan, tambak ng trabaho. Ang dami nating clerical work. Kaya minsan, hindi natin nagagawa ng maayos ang trabaho natin. At yun yung nakakalungkot. Dapat yung trabaho natin, teaching and curriculum planning lang. Hindi yung tinatambakan tayo. Teacher, karamihan po, yung mga teachers dito makakaalam po nito. Ang dami natin trabaho na labas sa trabaho natin. Kaya nakakalungkot. So yun po. That's how I answered that question.
Thank you so much to our leadership team for answering all those questions. I think we don't have time to answer all of these questions. We're very sorry for that. We apologize. But if you have any more insights or any more queries, you could always reach the movement at our email address and send any questions or anything you may have to our email address, which we will plug in the chat box in the Q&A answer portion. And anyway, for the closing of our program, we will have some public announcements from our officers, and after that, we will be having our closing remarks.
Our special announcement, a very quick announcement, will be given by our communications officer, Sir Kevin Samson. Sir Kevin, let's make this quick.
Maraming salamat, Ginoong Jamaico Ignacio. So para sa taon na ito, kami ay tatanggap na ng nominasyon para sa Gawad Umalohokan ng Kasaysayan 2023. Ang Gawad Umalohokan ng Kasaysayan ay mga parangal na ibinibigay sa mga taong nakapaglingkod sa adhikain ng ating kilusan at nakatulong sa mga layunin nito. Ibinibigay ito sa mga membro at opisyal ng movement at binibigyan din ang mga piling supporters ng adhikain ng movement at mga tagapagtaguyod ng kasaysayan ng Pilipinas. Ang Gawad Tanso ay para sa katapatan sa kilusan o Bronze Award for Loyalty to the Movement. Ito ay binibigay sa mga miyembro ng High School Philippine History Movement na nagtaguyod sa mga gawain at adhikain ng movement. Dapat ikaw ay kasapi ng movement, naniniwala na dapat na may Philippine history subject sa high school at may pagkukusa sa pagtulong sa adhikain, inisyatibo at proyekto ng ating kilusan. Lahat ng mga nasa criteria ay dapat may ebidensya at mapatunayan gamit ang ating mga ebidensya. Ang Gawad Pilak naman para sa kagila-gilalas na paglilingkod o Silver Award for Extraordinary Service ay binibigay sa mga miyembro o halal na opisyal ng High School Philippine History Movement na nagtaguyod sa mga gawain at adhikain ng movement. Dapat ikaw ay kasapi ng movement o isang halal na opisyal, naniniwala na dapat na may Philippine history subject sa high school at nakapaglingkod sa movement ng buong katapatan. Lahat ng mga nasa criteria ay dapat may ebidensya at mapatunayan gamit ang mga ebidensyang ito. Ang Gawad Ginto para sa katangi-tanging ambag sa samahan or Gold Award for Contribution to the Movement ay binibigay sa mga halal na opisyal ng High School Philippine History Movement na nagtaguyod sa mga gawain at adhikain ng movement. Dapat ikaw ay isang halal na opisyal ng movement na naniniwala na dapat na may Philippine history subject sa high school at may katangi-tanging ambag sa adhikain, inisyatibo at proyekto ng movement. Lahat ng mga nasa criteria ay dapat may ebidensya at mapatunayan gamit ang mga ito. At panghuli, ang Gawad Perlas ng Silangan para sa pagsusulong ng kasaysayan sa bayan o Pearl of the Orient Seas Award for the Promotion of History ay pinibigay sa kahit sinong Pilipino na nagtaguyod sa mga gawain at adhikain ng movement. Ang gawain at adhikain na ito ay kinikilala ng publiko. Dapat ikaw ay Filipino na naniniwala na dapat na may Philippine history subject sa high school, may katangi-tanging ambag sa adhikain, inisyatibo at proyekto ng movement at kinikilala ang iyong ambag sa publiko at nakatulong ito sa mga layunin ng ating kilusan. Lahat ng ito ay dapat may ebidensya at mapatunayan gamit ang ebidensya. Para sa proseso ng nominasyon, ang komite ng Gawad Umalahocan ang magpoproseso ng mga nominasyon ng movement. Lahat ay maaaring magbigay ng nominasyon. Kung nais magbigay ng nominasyon, maaaring gumawa ng portfolio na nagpapakita ng mga ebidensyang nabanggit natin. Dapat masunod ang criteria at dapat ito'y organisado at maayos ang pagkakalatag ng mga argumento at ebidensya sa portfolio. Ipapadala ang portfolio sa ibalik.phil.his.sa.hs at gmail.com. Ito po ay ipopost natin sa ating Facebook para madaling maalala. Maaari din maglabas ng nomination forms ang komite ng movement bilang kapalit ng portfolio at iproproseso ng komite kung karapat-dapat nagawaran ang mga nabigyan ng nominasyon. Kung walang nagbigay ng nominasyon, maaaring magkusa ang komite na maghanap ng mga gagawaran. Kailangan masunod ang criteria kung gagawin ito. Maraming salamat po mula sa Gawad Umalahocan 2023 Committee. Muli, kasaysayan, huwag kalimutan. Salamat po.
With that being said, let us now listen to the closing remarks of our movement's president and chairperson, Mr. Jamaico D. Ignacio. Go ahead, sir.
Alam ko po pagod na po tayong lahat. Kami po yung nagpapasalamat na pumunta kayo dito. Naway may natutunan po tayong lahat sa ating conference. Ginagawa namin po ito para maisulong ang aming adhikain at magawa natin to upang maibalik ang pagtuturo ng kasaysayan ng Pilipinas High School. Marami na nabanggit. Disinformation, nahihirapan yung college students sa Philippine history sa Philippine history dahil may kakulangan sa high school. Ang dami nating problema sa pagkalimot, etc. Kaya nakakatuwa na yung mga tulad nila Ma'am Mona Magnovelus at nila Ma'am ni Professor Serrano, Joanne Serrano, ginagawa nila, bagaman hindi sila mga history teachers or history majors, meron silang pakialam sa pagtuturo o pagpapalaganap sa kasaysayan. Ginagawa nila to sa kanilang field. Social media man, sa TikTok nila Ma'am Mona, o sa communications, si Ma'am Joanne. Sana tayo, kahit hindi tayo mga history teachers, mga supporters, o mga napadalaw lang dahil gusto niyo makinig sa conference, sana magamit natin ang mga tutunan natin dito upang malaman na kailangan ng kasaysayan upang maisulong natin ang kinabukasan ng ating bayan. Kung magpapadali lang tayo sa disinformasyon, malilito tayo at hindi natin malalaman kung paano ba talaga tayo susunod. Naway makuha po natin ang aral na ito. Naway malagom ang mapag-isipan natin ito. Mabuhay po kayong lahat. Maraming salamat po sa inyo lahat.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jamaico Ignacio, for those wonderful closing remarks. Now, we are officially closing the first National Conference on the Promotion of Philippine History in the Classroom and Cyberspace. We thank you very much to all our attendees for being here, and of course to our speakers for gracing our event. We will now be sending the evaluation forms through the chat box, and we request that and remind you all to fill out the evaluation form before you will be given your certificate of attendance. And once again, if you may have any questions or any insights, or generally just want to reach the movement, you may reach us at our email address, which we will also be posting on our Facebook page. And with that, we also invite you to please like and follow all our social media platforms, which you may find also on our Facebook page. Now, as I said, the evaluation forms is a prerequisite before you may get a certificate. No evaluation form, no certificate. Partner, that was a truly wonderful event, and one that is historic, I think, since this is our first national conference. I was really excited to have this event. Hindi ako makatulog kagabi because I was so excited, and really looking forward to many more events just like this with other great speakers who will surely electrify landscape and help us bring back Philippine history in the high school curriculum. So with that, my name is Alphonse Vita, the Youth Engagement Coordinator of the High School Philippine History Movement.
And my name is Mary Gerland, the Vice President for Youth Affairs of the Youth Members of the High School Philippine History Movement. And it was an honor to be your host today. On behalf of the High School Philippine History Movement, thank you for coming to our conference.
Maraming salamat po. Goodbye. Ibalik ang Philippine history sa high school curriculum. Mabuhay po tayong lahat.